Hello and welcome to the regular Friday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we've got a good show for you. We'll be discussing that shambolic show on against Coventry a few days ago, as if I'm just still sore about the North London derby. I had to witness that. And we'll also be doing a preview of the Brentford game tomorrow, which I'm going to. I don't know who else is going here, if anyone is. Right, hello to everyone in the chat and who's listening to us now. I see there's 6 of us at the moment. I'm sure that will grow as the evening goes on. And I'm now going to welcome our guests. We've got a good panel for you, and we might have a few latecomers who are doing their own shows anyway. Right? So I'll start off with Alan, Ragdoc Madness. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well. Happy Friday. How are you, Adrian?
Happy Fridays. AJ, how are you? You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, I always mute myself. I don't like to talk over or make noise when other people are at it. So, yeah, mate, I'm good. It's the weekend. Spurs Day tomorrow. So, what's not to be positive and happy about?
Yeah, welcome Ian. He's becoming a regular, like Alan and AJ are. How are you, Ian?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm fine. You're okay?
Yeah.
And Mod Mark, how are you doing?
All is good, Adrian. All is good. It's weekend.
Okay. Right. The normal pattern of events is that when we discuss a game, we do the lineup, then we do the first half, then we do the second half substitutions if there are red and yellow cards or VAR, sort of players you thought played well, man of the match, team performance and end. So, Alan, I'll start with you on the lineup. I bet it wasn't your predicted lineup, was it?
No. I didn't have Ben Davies in there, although I think in the defense he probably did better than most. At least in the front, I kind of felt like that was probably going to happen. I except for Timo Werner, I didn't anticipate that he was going to start. Do I remember that game correctly? Did he start? Are we talking about the same game?
Yeah, he played. To me, he had his worst time ever in a Spurs shirt in that game.
Yeah. Odebear unfortunately picked up an injury.
17 minutes.
Yeah, very quickly he picked it up.
Mm.
Feels very Spursy, right? That we were getting injuries like that, but unfortunately he went out, and then Brennan Johnson had to come in, and I think Brennan Johnson, aside from the goal, I don't think he did very much. I think the whole team was terrible the whole time. I mean, really, I didn't think we deserved to win. I was at like 80 something minutes. I figured we were going to lose, and it was just going to be, that was it. It is what it is. And Coventry fought hard. Their fans sounded really loud. It seemed like they had the game in control. They only lost because they weren't clinical up front. They had multiple chances. It could have been like 3-0 at one point. And I don't know. I don't know what's going on. We felt like a championship side, not a Premier League side. I feel like if we were firing on all cylinders, this game should have been easy, relatively easy, even with all of the changes that Ange made. I know I was thinking in the middle of the game, did Ange make a mistake again, making so many substitutions, just like he did against Fulham last year? Too many substitutions from the get-go. But honestly, I don't know that Son and Maddison, when they came in, I don't think they were very impactful. In fact, the 2 goals came from Jed Spence and Brennan Johnson. 2 unlikely sources. So,
yeah, there were eight changes instead of the 9 that we had against Fulham. Right, there was 8.
Yeah.
So you're right.
It's a lot of changes, and I don't know what's going on in the club. I've never felt more confused by everything going on with the team, because it seems like Ange must have faith in certain players, but he's not being rewarded on the pitch with a performance, and he's willing to take the blame. But at some point, I just want the players to start performing. I appreciate that he wants to take the blame for it, but I'm not looking to come down hard on any one particular person. I really just want to see my team play well. And they're just not doing that, even against a side like Coventry, who are not in the top 5. I don't even think they're in the top 10 in the championship. I think they're 14th or something like that. They're not an amazing championship side. So I just want the team to start playing well. That's all. Whatever they have to do to start doing it.
AJ, your take on the lineup?
I was hoping before the lineup came out that he'd learned from last year and the match against Fulham, and that he wasn't going to make wholesale changes. I think we discussed it before, didn't we? And I think the main crux of people wanted a solid 8-9 players with a few players from the reserves, our younger players, to come in and show what they can do, what they're capable of. Instead, he makes 8 changes. Some of the players haven't even set foot on the pitch this season. It was disjointed. It was slow. Nobody has had time to build up any sort of real connection with any of the other players. It was an absolute nightmare. I do disagree slightly with Alan in the Maddison department. I don't think he had a massive effect, but when he came on, the tempo certainly lifted. He was looking to get on the ball and instantly look forwards, instantly try to make something happen. And that had an effect with people around him. Son, I agree with. Son did nothing yet again. A couple of decent touches out wide, but offered nothing. I think had we not had those 2 late goals, I think Andrew's job, I think he's living a charmed life at the moment. I think, given the 2 back-to-back defeats in the Premier League, if you go to a championship side who aren't playing well and get played off the pitch, which is what happened to us, we got absolutely embarrassed. We had our pants pulled down for 83 minutes, was it? Something like that. It was insane. We had 70%, 72% possession in the first half.
78 overall.
30. I think we had 333 passes in the first half. We had 3 times as many as them, and they had 4 shots on our goal. We had none. We're having possession for possession's sake. We're not hurting teams when we have it, and it's only by the sprinkling of a couple of players coming on that Angie's job, I think personally, has been saved. So let's hope that
we'll get into more depth in the first half. So I want to get Ian's take on the lineup as well, Ian. I mean, like, I did post my lineup. I mean, like,
Far too many changes. It's the same every time. We've made these sort of changes. Forget Fulham. I think Fulham, they did okay, and we only went out on penalties. But I refer back to the European games, when there were 10, 11 changes. You can't throw together a whole load of players and expect them to play in a cohesive way. You've got kids like Graham Bergvall who should be coming in with senior players around them, and they didn't. You're going into a team that played like strangers, so the performance really was no surprise. It really wasn't. There's no confidence within the team at the moment. It just looked poor. Thankfully we got out of trouble. I will say, for the goal that Spence scored, he started it. He played it into Maddison. Maddison played a lovely ball round the corner to Kulusevski. And Kulu waited for Spence to complete his run, and he played the ball in beautifully. So can't agree on the Maddison thing. I think Maddison made a very telling contribution there. But just poor. The There was no atmosphere where we were. Fans only really started singing sort of first 5, 10, and then the last 5. It was just poor. It was just really poor. Too many changes again. I don't think Angie's job is on the line based on the League Cup. I think it's to do with top 4. I think if he'd have gone out, I don't think the owners would have been happy. But I think they'll be more cheesed off if he goes out in the qualifying rounds of the Europa. The league stages.
Yeah,
I think
because it gives you Champions League as well.
Yeah,
More important for us for the league.
But they won. We got the result. So
yeah. Mark, your take on the lineup?
Well, first of all, I was shocked to see Foster in goal because, as we discussed on, was it the last show? Like Vicario, he's not got to run about. He's not going to get burnt out. So why would you? I mean, personally, I would have stuck one of the youngsters in there. The youngster that played most of the friendly games. He was one of them. What's his name, Adrian? You know more about the youth system than I do.
Austin, I think, is it? Brandon
Austin. No, Austin. I'd have had him in goal. Yeah. As soon as I saw Foster, I was like saying, I was thinking to myself, please don't let us go to penalties. We've had it. But to be honest, after we went 1-0, we're not talking about it. I was just talking about the team. And I was shocked that he put like Gray and Bergvall. Right, first of all, Gray, all right, he played there 30-odd times for Leeds. He's not a right back. Let's get this straight. Right, he's not a right back. He played there enough times for Leeds, yes, granted. But his preferred. I don't understand, Ange, why you don't play players in their preferred positions. Honestly, Gray is a midfielder. He's not a right back. And then
I see his future in midfield, definitely.
Yeah, well, exactly. But we'll come on to it, I know, but he just chucks people on like and just says, honestly, line up. When I saw there was 7 changes, whatever it was, I thought, has he not learnt from last year? And to be honest, if Coventry took their chances, we would have been out.
Yeah.
Managers do. That's my take on the lineup. I wouldn't have started Forster. I wouldn't have started Davis. Definitely wouldn't have started Werner. And it's not because whether I rate them as much as well, but like Ian alluded to, I mean, you're bringing players in that haven't had no game time, and if you expect them all to gel, I've never known it happen. I've never known it at international level when they make loads of substitutions and they change. I've never known it. Even with Man City and Europe and players like that, although their subs are better quality than what we've got, but even they I'm going to come into the understanding on a pitch a bit later between players. They've all got the basic skill sets to be able to pass the ball, things like that. But my lineup was different. But we'll move on to the first half.
Are we going to answer Jay Ashraf? His question.
We'll do that as well. Actually, I'll go through the chat first, and because I've been remiss of doing this. Hi, Destiny. Destiny's a good friend of the channel. Always about you. Phil Coyer's the same again. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
To another regular. Jay Ashraf, thanks for coming in.
Nita.
Definitely seen you before. We'll do his question while it's here. Otherwise, the chat will go on. And we'll
Nita as well, mine. You left
and
the
Nita
right.
as well. Yeah. Good evening, Nita.
Good evening, all.
Yeah, Jay Ashford, Adrian panel. Why do you think Angie's persevering with playing growing a defensive role? And do you expect Ange to make another 8 or 9 changes again? Whatever team we get next? I don't actually. Because by then, once the draw for the Cup's Wednesday. I don't know when the next round is. I haven't looked. By then, we'll have a few more games under our belt. I hope we ain't got no more injuries because we're down to 20. Because we're short 2 anyway, because we couldn't fill the academy trained 4. We didn't have the academy trained 4 out of the 8 trained at home, like. So whether that means promoting from the B list. And to be in that B list, the reason Gray, in case any of you in the chat don't know, and Bergvall don't qualify for the B list at 18 is because you've got to be with the academy for 2 years to qualify for the B list as well. There should be a simple rule that covers it all, guys. You know what I mean? Like, say everyone's got to be 3 years or everyone's got to be 2, you know. And then you get slightly different rules for Europe and all. I mean, like, we need to be aligned, like, you know, but, you know, it's the way it is. So, Alan, on the question, what's your take on the question? Do you expect Ange to make 8 or 9 changes against whatever team we get next?
Well, why do I think he's persevering with playing Gray in a defensive role? I mean, honestly,
just to give you a little pointer here, because like, are you going to make 8 or 9 changes if we draw Man City away? You know,
right?
You know what I mean, we got to know who we've got first, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know why he's persevering with that. I honestly, I don't. Maybe he's just trying to get them more game time. You know, trying them out in different roles. I think Ange has a history of playing players like this. Kind of, he likes the what's it called? The flexibility of moving players around. He likes players like that. I don't know why he's doing it. I certainly hope he doesn't make 8 or 9 changes. It just doesn't work, as you guys have pointed out already. The team, I think Ian pointed it out, they looked like strangers playing with one another, you know, for the first time. It just didn't look right. And they didn't look comfortable playing with one, you know, as a team. Just didn't feel it. There were weird passes. So I'm hoping we don't see 8 or 9 changes again. And as you pointed out, especially if it's Man City or someone like that.
AJ, on the question,
the only reason I can think, the only thing that makes any sense to me at all as to why Gray played right back is it was already decided, because Destiny needs minutes, right? He didn't have a pre-season. I think he had an operation, so he's then 4 or 5 games behind everybody already. So he's got to get his match fitness. He's got to get his overall fitness up. So that was already agreed that Spence would be coming on for Destiny at half time. Now, if you're doing that, who else are you going to play at right back? Porro isn't there. You need somebody in that position that has played there, and he played there for Leeds. So he knows the position. He understands it. So that's the only thing that I can think of. If he perseveres with him in that position for the next 3-4 matches that Gray plays, I don't have an answer for that, and it kind of nullifies my thoughts. But that's the only thing that makes sense to me at the moment, and I would hope that he doesn't make 8 or 9 changes. And I tell a lie, I do hope he makes 8 or 9 changes to the team that played in the cup, because if he does, that means we'll have our normal team. We'll have the 8-9 players, and he can drop a couple in there. He can play Bergvall and Moore or Gray and whoever else. But let's go with a strong team that are used to playing week in, week out. Then you can drop your youngsters in. You know, you can drop the reserve players in. Whacking players on the pitch that haven't played together. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you don't know what your teammate is going to be doing, where they're going to be, you're playing balls and they're not going to get on the end of them. You're dropping the ball back, and instead of your defender being there, you've got the opposition running through and taking the ball off you. So there has to be an understanding, and you only get that from playing together consistently. So I do hope he makes changes, but that he reverts back to the team that he should have started.
Ian, do you think Ange is prepared to throw the Carabao Cup under the bus?
Who knows with him? It's I don't know. You know, can I just also say just one or two of the comments about Mikey Moore? You couldn't have thrown Mikey Moore into that mess on Wednesday night at Coventry. You know, he's got to come in when he's got the proper first team players around him, players that will help him. You know, he's a 17-year-old kid. You know, to put him into that mess wouldn't have been fair. I think the reason possibly also he played Gray at the back, Bergvall in the middle, Noda Burr, and up front. So he had one youngster in each department of the team. That may have been his thinking. I don't know. Gray has always preferred midfield, albeit he did play a few games last year for Leeds at right back. but he's played midfield all his life. There's so many team selections that Ange makes that don't make sense. That these were just a few more. And yes, I do think the team that plays in the next round of the Carabao Cup will be determined by the opposition.
Yeah, Mark, you think the same thing? We're going to throw the Carabao Cup under the bus because we're going to concentrate on the Europa League and getting as much as we can in the league as possible.
As a fan, I don't want us to throw any cups under the bus.
None of
Jesus
us
Christ! I mean, what's it been? 16 years? Jesus! You know, I mean, I want him. Personally, as I've said on this channel a few times, I'd take 17th in an FA Cup right now. You know, we're not getting relegated, but we got a bit of silverware. I'd take that immediately. But it's like I said, with Ange, I just don't understand what he's doing half the time. He changes nothing. You know, we play the same way, mate, whatever he says. You know, I mean, it's like I was on the fan show on Tottenham on Tour, big them up. And I said, like, if you're watching a game on Sky, now and again you'll hear the commentator saying, oh, so-and-so's moved here or there. They've, like, you never hear that about Tottenham. Even the substitutions we make, it don't change the game at all. You know, I honestly don't know what he's doing half the time. But I've sort of calmed down about this Ange out thing now. I just want him to learn to adapt to games. You know, change things during the game. You know, if we're getting overrun, put someone else in the midfield or go to 5 at the back. You know, to sort of stem this nonsense that goes on at the moment. You know, and big up Dan in the chat as well. I tuned into your show last night, mate. I put a few comments in.
I think in reply to Dan, I think it's too early to assess his way of thinking regarding what team he picks for the league and for the cup. You know, I think give it a few more cup games, we'll have more of an idea. I think he just wanted to get players who hadn't played out on the pitch on Wednesday, and he obviously thought they were good enough to win.
And
albeit we were.
Yeah.
Although we started off with 3 very good performances that we should have won all 3 games. We just had no cutting edge, and the last 2 have been really poor. I think we just let's hope game number 6 is better.
My team was a bit stronger than his anyway. I mean, I did post it. I always try, if I've got time, I'll do pre-match posts, post-match posts in the Spurs group that we run, as well as the YouTube channel. I try and do that as well and give a balanced perspective on what I think is going on. With the Mikey Moore situation, I wouldn't have played him yesterday, and I love the player. I think if you're going to see him, you might see him second half tomorrow if we've got a commanding lead in maybe for 20 minutes. I think the best chance of seeing Mikey Moore getting near to a half of football would be probably in the second half against Carabao on Thursday. I don't see it beforehand, and I'm not sure it'd be right to throw him in just yet. I believe he is good enough. I really do believe he is good enough, but the point is you want to bring him in when other players around are in decent form as well. As Ian alluded to earlier, back in the day, when we brought Pellerin or other on that side, they were brought in one at a time virtually, or they were that good at the time the other one was brought in. Oddle came in when he was 17. I don't know if Perriman was 16 or 17. But they'd have like 9 or 10 pros around them, experienced players, and back in those days, 10 could carry a passenger. They could, or you'd sub them, but then you was only allowed 1 substitute off the bench anyway, and you only had squads of 14 subs. Totally different. So you wouldn't have all these 8 changes now. It wouldn't be possible, and we see it too often, and Spurs aren't the only team that do it. Let's move on to actually the first half, because I've got some things to say. But Alan, your take on the first half?
It was abysmal, I think, the way we played. It just, nothing worked. I thought that we had a lot of possession just for possession's sake. But we weren't clinical. We weren't really taking any chances. and I was pretty depressed after the first half, actually. It just because it, I wanted us. I thought that even that team, that setup, should have been able to do better against a Coventry side. They're well-paid Premier League players. They should be able to do better, and they didn't. They kind of made Coventry look better than I think they really are. So, yeah, that's really all I can say about the first half.
AJ, and then I'll come to Ian because he was at the game. AJ, your take on the first half?
It was poor. It was just very, very, very poor. As I stated earlier, it was actually, I correct myself, it was 74% possession we had in the first half. We had 333 passes. They had 111. 3 times as many. They had 4 shots on target. Well, 4 shots in general. We had nothing. We didn't even muster a shot. We got absolutely caught with our pants down because it was a disjointed team. It's too many times in the past, not just with Tottenham, every other team, United, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, they've all done it. Premier League team rocks up to play a Championship team or a League One team, League Two team, takes the piss, doesn't put effort into it, thinks it's the coast, and what happens? You get embarrassed. At no level in this game can you take your opponents lightly because all they need is a chance. If they can keep you out, all they need is 1 shot on goal, one chance, and you're out. Competition is done. So you need to start showing whoever you are, whoever you're coming up against, you need to show your opponents more respect than I think we showed Coventry.
Ian, we started well with Forster, didn't he? Threw the ball out. You were there, so you got the atmosphere. What was your take on the first half?
Probably on a par. When you consider who we were playing as well, and I fully agree with what Steve was just put up, what he just put up on the screen. At the end of the day, and what Steve put a few minutes ago, there are no expectations. The owners are not interested in trophies, just in profit. And going back to the first half, I just found, I think generally there was just a lack of effort. There was lack of conviction. You're taking the words out of my mouth here. No urgency, clueless, bad. There was nothing cohesive about the team. Nobody, I don't know. Bergvall, I thought, had a good fit. He was our best player first half. I think by a mile. I think he played well. Faded a bit second half. I felt sorry for him and Gray, to be honest, to be thrown into that. It's utter chaos. It's chaos with the first team. You can imagine what it's like with 8 players coming in. When you've got a senior professional like Werner, who, when he came down in 2020 with Leipzig, when they beat us in the Champions League, he looked a proper centre forward, and you just wonder what the hell's happened to Werner, because that performance on Wednesday was one of the worst I've ever seen in my life from a Spurs player.
I agree.
The performance against Coventry overall was probably as bad as Zagreb the other year when we lost 3-0, probably on a par with Newcastle the other season as well when we lost 6-1. It was just dreadful. Just dreadful.
Mark, your take on the first half? Then I'll give you mine.
Well, to be honest with you, I've learned a valuable lesson. Never be involved with 5 WhatsApp groups and try to watch a football at the same time. Because it was going mad in your WhatsApp group, L Tales, Tottenham away, Tottenham on tour. It was going mad. And so I'm going to turn my phone off now or not even look at it when the football's on. But from what I saw of it, it was absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
Absolutely dreadful. It's like AJ said, I was watching at halftime. They had the 2 panelists in the studio, and they were saying, surely like he's got to make the changes now. He's got to make the changes, and there was nothing. Like
I like Nita's point here. Actually, go on, carry on, Mark. Don't
right. 74% possession, right? 0 efforts on goal, right? It was just the same nonsense we've been seeing most of this season. That horseshoe stuff, side to side, side to side, and back across. Like 74% possession, right? Can you imagine if Man City or Liverpool or one of the top teams had 74% possession in the first half? How many shots they would have had at goal? Not necessarily on target. Well, for a start, City would have probably been 4-0 up with 74% possession, and they would have probably had about 10 efforts on goal, at least. We had 0. It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah. It's the choice of passes as well to me. I like this by Nita. I don't know if she's coming from the angle I'm coming from. During that first half on the left, I don't know where Ian was in the ground either, but I actually thought no one's going to disagree with the Bergvall performance. It was good. He's did 2 second-half performances against Bayern Munich. We know that kid's ready, right? He's ready to play in any game as far as I'm concerned there. Gray, we need to see a little bit more of, but I think he'll be fine, right? But it's a question of when you play these players and who's playing alongside them and with them in the team. It's very important, you know. Udogie, I've been watching Udogie because he hasn't had no preseason fitness and all that. I actually thought he had decent first half, but Werner screwed him because he was powering down the left a few times, and I was deliberately watching him, and Dragerson actually, which I'll come to as well. I was deliberately watching him, and he did some good work on the left, and he got down. And a lot of the time, Werner's return ball was absolute crap to him. He put one over the forward, off, over byline and all that shit, and Werner just couldn't play a pass. He either overhit it, underhit it, or whatever. I mean, because it's the worst I've seen it in playing a Spurs shirt. And don't get me wrong, I don't get fun berating players. I want them all to do well, and I will support every player and every manager who's at the club while they're there. I always do that. Don't boo players and all that crap. I might shout out the team's rubbish after they go off the pitch, but it'll only be a generalisation, not a direct insult to anyone in particular. But and I actually thought Udogie's getting his mojo back. I think he's coming back into it, At the back, and this is understanding as well. So I don't want to come down on Dragerson. Some of his positional players I thought were suspect. I mean, I thought at Newcastle we all blame the 2 goals. I thought his positioning could have been better. Now he might not have the direct understanding with the defenders around him, so I get that. But it's just something I'm keeping an eye on. Right, I'm not coming down hard on him. And again, yesterday with the goal, I know Davis was a bit caught, and he was a bit caught as well. Like Ian alluded to, there's no understanding with players that haven't played together. And you'll get a defender, a central defender, he don't know where to twist or stick because he's not used to playing with those around him. So Dragerson looks a good player. He looks a very good player to me. But if you're going to, become a really tight defensive unit, you can't keep changing around your back 4. Davis made a great block in the second half before they scored when he was sliding on the floor. That was a good block. He's always been a solid defender. He's not as bad that people make him out to be, but he's not good enough to take us forward, is he? Let's be fair. And he's in his last year, so why are you playing him? Why are you playing unless you've got a real horrendous list? Why are you playing him?
Because you've got no one else, Adrian.
Well, I wanted VDV to start that game. There was a difference with
left him at home. He left him and Romero at home.
Romero, that's all fresh legs for tomorrow, so no excuses tomorrow.
That's
and
right.
Even the likes that come on, even like Kulu and that come on, they're fresh. They weren't on the pitch that length of time.
No.
They certainly made an impact. All of them did, right? So we'll cover that. So I was just watching that. I mean, apart from that, Gray, he wasn't no worse than anyone else out there. It's like the total lack of cohesion. What gets me, the bit that Nita put up here to read the game, when I'm watching overview on a pitch and I'm looking, it's not the fact we get all this possession to the final third. If we were better with our passing in the final third, or better when we're trying to break and we're a bit quicker, give the ball to a winger who's on the half turn, not when he's got his back to a defender. What's he going to do? He can only look in front of him or to the central part of the pitch. If he's receiving the ball in a half turn, you give him options. He may twist and go outside. He might turn and go inside. He might cut across the midfield. But even when I'm not sticking up for Werner. Don't get me wrong. He's not on my best friends list. You know what I mean? But he was getting it down here. I've seen it at Spurs as well, not just in this game. We don't get the ball, and I know it's easy in the stand. You're not at pitch level when everything's like 100 miles an hour. But we don't get the balls out to the wingers quick enough. And we're not, and like I didn't want to post, for a ball carrier. I mean, Mikey Moore could do this, as could Jamie Donnelly, as could Divine. They could all probably carry the ball in midfield better than what we've got, better than what we've showed. Our players should. And I just wonder with this robotic football nowadays, because all teams play the same way. They all play this horseshoe. They all play narrow to stop you playing through the middle. I get it through the coaching, right? There's always a wide trench of grass down one of the wings, which is open for everyone. And the reason they won't stretch out or play a 4-4-2, things like the different system, is because you leave too much space through the middle of the field for people to play through you. So they don't do that. But this is like, well, they've got a lot of work to do on this training ground, you know. If things had clicked, then we would probably be papering over the cracks. We need some consistency in our performances. This is not going to happen like in 1 or 2 games. And we'll only show it. If it starts clicking with scoring goals, that's what we should have been doing now, though. You know, a little bit of a rant there, but let's move on to the second half. Then we'll talk about some of the players. Second half, Alan. We had 4 chances. 2 of them were goals, but I mean, and when it was too late, I mean, so just to remind everybody and those in the chat, I mean, like the Davis header was a great save by the goalkeeper, and the Kulusevski shot was as well. That was about it, apart from the 2 goals, yeah. Mm-hmm. But suddenly we were overrun. I mean, like it's hard to fathom it out, isn't it?
It is. I don't know what happened in those last few minutes. I'm happy it did. You know, it I guess if I want to look at the glass half full, I could say it showed a bit of resiliency. That the team, regardless of how poor they were for 80 plus minutes, found it in them to put something together and put 2 goals in to win the game. I mean, that I don't like to harp on the negative only. I can look at that positive and say, look at Jed Spence and Brennan Johnson were able to put something together. And that shows resiliency, you know, especially when they were playing so poorly. But that second half was to me, it was very much like the first half. I think Kulu coming on made a huge difference. He was making things happen. And yes, I didn't remember you guys were telling me about the James Maddison pass to Jed Spence. That was very good. But I thought Kulu was probably the most impactful substitution. And other than the people, you know, the subs, technically Brennan Johnson was a sub and Jed Spence was a sub, and they scored. But I think overall Kulu had a very big impact on our game in the second half.
AJ, your take on the second half?
In the second half, we had less possession, only by 9%, but we scored 2 goals. So take from that what you will. I think the reason we ended up, the Davies header was a very good header, a very good save. And the Kulu shot from Spence, winning the ball back in the box, that was a very good save as well. So we had some chances, not as many as we should have. But the 2 goals that came because of mistakes. The goal that Kulu put Spence for, the centre half stepped out. He stepped forwards and to the side. If he'd have kept his position, he's there. He's right where the ball's going, and the ball doesn't make it through to Spence. And Bentancur dispossessed. I can't remember who it was, but the ball was played to him. Bentancur, he had 3 Spurs players around him. Bentancur nicked the ball. With that, Johnson seen the space, made a good run, and the pass was quality. Brennan Johnson then finishes. So 2 mistakes in an otherwise solid defensive display in that team helped us with the victory.
And I thought it was telling that we moved the ball quickly for both those goals. Ian, your take on the second half?
No, not much more to add. I thought performance was appalling. We could have been 3 or 4 down.
Yeah.
The funny thing was, I turned around to my son on 85 after the last miss when I think the guy missed the ball at the far post, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I said to him, "We'll win this." He looked at me like I was mad, and I said, "Well, they've thrown away so many chances, Coventry. It was just one of those nights that you just think, well, we should be 3 or 4 down here." And it was just, I won't, I'm not going to. I'm not going into. I'm not a clairvoyant by any stretch of the imagination. It's just got lucky, but at the end of the day, it's about taking your chances. Possession stats mean absolutely nothing. I think we've averaged 68% in the league. We've got 4 points out of 12. So, stats. The only stats that count are goals. And performance was poor. It was pure robbery that we came away with a win. And hopefully they'll put this performance behind them. I certainly expect a lot better tomorrow. From pretty much a full strength team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, your take on the second half?
Well, now, to be honest, right, I know that there's like them weird ley line things around there.
5 WhatsApp chats at the same time.
Well, yeah. No. What I was going to say is there's some weird ley line things around there. There's one that goes through Glastonbury Tor. I think it's linked with King Arthur's Castle in Tintagel or something. So there's all that sort of weirdness going on. But, well, if you believe in all that hocus pocus. But, like, when the second half started, I honestly thought we were playing. I thought there'd been some sort of like void in the space continuum, and Man City had come out for the second half because they were literally all over us. And it's like Ian said, they could have been 3 or 4 up, and I was like, and then of course all the WhatsApp groups were going mad, but no, I just couldn't understand it. Honestly, it was dreadful again. And it's like Ian said, it was daylight robbery that we won the game, and it really was.
Yeah, but I was a bit like Ian. Once we scored the equaliser, I thought we're going through this cup.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I just didn't want it to go to penalties with Foster in goal.
Yeah,
because we'd have definitely been out. Because that's like chopping a tree over, watching him dive.
Well, after that penalty shootout against Fulham last.
Well, exactly. Well, he didn't even dive for one of them, did he?
Yeah, well, I think if we'd got there near to 1-1, I don't know if we'd used all our. Who was on the bench, Austin?
No, Vicario was on the bench.
For extra time, we used 5, haven't we?
Have we? Oh, well, then we wouldn't have actually the goalkeeper. I'm just playing with that,
There was no extra time anyway. As soon as 90 minutes was done, it went. That's it.
Yeah, yes, of course.
The 5 subs had come on, hadn't they? You had Johnson come on.
Yeah,
Spence, and then Madison, Kulu, and Son. So
yeah,
they all came on, and we got through. Listen, at the end of the day, we're through.
Oh, I'll celebrate the win. Listen, there'll be plenty of time.
All you can say is performance was dreadful. Too many changes.
Yeah.
I'm
sure everyone in the chat and you guys can remember games we should have won, we lost, or we were robbed, or blah blah blah, and all that. I mean, like Villa at home 2-1 last year. We lost. I mean, like we had 17 good scoring chances in 25 minutes, and then West Ham did the same to us, and then we go away and we beat Villa 4-0. I will celebrate any win because you have to in football. Take them when they come. I'll tell you, because you'll have more sad times in football than you will have happy times. So take every win and celebrate it, and then have the banter and whatever, you know what I mean, that goes with it. Yeah, my second half take, I thought Kulu come on. I seen a look at him, and I'm seeing him like against in the pre-season. He had 4 assists and 3 goals. When you look at the little dink pass for Basuma's goal against QPR, again against Hearts, again against Bayern, and he scores 2 goals. I mean, he is coming for a lot of stick because we all want to see him reproduce his debut season form, which was only from a January to the end of the season when he had them goals and assists. But even if you take that away from him, I've been saying it for ages, he is a quality footballer. He's a quality footballer. And like now, I think even Angel think, he wants players, and he's not slow like people keep saying he is not. I've got all the fast players up here, but I won't bring them up. Yeah, but like I thought, I mean, on the Spurs site, he was voted man of the match. I get it. He weren't on that long, really, you know. So really, if you're going on a complete 45-minute man of the match, you give it to Bergvall, really, in all honesty.
Mm.
You do, because he was on longer. Although Kula was, his effect, you know, his impact on the game was immense. And Maddison, yeah, I mean, like,
Did his job, didn't he?
yeah, I thought Kulu, Udogi, and Bergvall were our best players. If you could pick 3 best players on the day, right? Shone on the day. But Maddison's quality shone when he came on. You could see he was trying to do something. He was trying to go this way, that way, beat a man and all that, and trying to do something. He had a hand in the goal, so he has that quality. But like Ericsson was and Delhi was before him, these players are brilliant on their day, but they can frustrate the living daylights out of you as well, can't they? You know what I mean? So yeah. So I don't know what your guys' take was, or do you think that Spence should start a game now just because he scores a goal, Alan? Or but then you've got to leave Porro out. No.
I mean, maybe they moved Porro to a different. Porro likes, you know, didn't we entertain him even on the wing? You could potentially maybe Porro, because Porro wasn't a right back, was he? When he first started, he
was a wing back.
He was a wing back.
He's a wing back. Yeah.
Played very well against us in Europe, and that got. He was actually, I think, he's more of a Conte signing actually when we got him in January. Yeah.
There is a case to be made to push Porro further up and to have Spence there, but I think Spence needs more respect, because, I mean, I know obviously it was prearranged for him to come on in place of Udogi because he's quite versatile. He's not a left-sided fullback, but he can play it. But he needs to be. Every time he's got on, he's done well. Every time, like pre-season, he produced. He was good for us. In this match, he stood up and was counted when needed. He's got that in his locker. He needs to be utilised more. If you're going to keep playing Gray as backup in that position, and we don't know if that's going to happen. We're all surmising at the moment. But if he does, what kind of message is that sending to Spence?
I see Porro. See if Bentancur gets this ban, right? Whether he does get a ban or not, we don't know. But we need to rotate players because they're tired. I've always said it all along. With me, I can see Porro as an old type central midfielder on the right-sided midfielder. He's not a winger, right? He's not. But that's only my opinion, though. He's not a winger. I could see him coming in and doing a job there with someone like Spence behind him, you know. So, but it remains to be seen. His stats are excellent for a wing back, inverted fullback. I don't think. I mean, you'd have to go to Trent and others like that to comparison. His stats are excellent. Technically, he's superb. He's got all the skill set there. You don't have them take on them volley shots and score goals from outside the box if you ain't got something about you. But Spence, he hasn't shown us anything defensively yet, is he? Can he do it? This is the thing. We don't know, do we?
Made one excellent block, didn't he? Came track back. Yeah, he slipped once the whole of the second half. That was it. Thought he had a very good 45 minutes. Played very well, and the goal was all his. You know, he started it, finished it. Terrific. Yeah. You know, I like Spence. You know, for me, he was played out of position. Guy's a right back. He's not left back.
Yeah, I'm used to judging players over, you know.
It's all early. You know, we're just making.
I'm not saying I'm unhappy with what I've seen. I'm just saying.
Let's wait and see. You know how all these kids get on during the season. It's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season.
And Mark, your views on? Are you a Spence fan? I can't remember. Are you?
Yeah. Well, when I saw him in that friendly, he's obviously come back and he sorted whatever problems he had out. Because who was it? Was it the club released? He's come back with a different attitude. He's determined to get in the team, and Was that a club release? I can't remember. It was back in the summer.
I think it was.
Yeah. But to be honest, right now he's a natural right back. If he's come back with this new shiny attitude, got rid of his party lifestyle, whatever he was doing before, and he's 100% committed to football, and you see someone that's younger than you in Archie Gray taking your position as right back, you're going to be sort of thinking, what's going on here? You know, when Archie Gray isn't even a right back. You know, you can be like, what's going on here? Well, why did I bother? You know, and then, because it confused me when he chucked him on his left back. I mean, he got found. What game was it he come on as left back and he got found out? He wasn't very.
Bayern?
Yeah, is he come on in the league this year yet?
No.
I don't think so.
No, it must have been the Bayern friendly then. He's definitely not a left back, and so it's like I said, if I was him, and Archie Gray is playing over me in my position. I'm not saying it is, but you know what I mean. A position that I'm comfortable in, and the other one just filled in for Leeds a few times. I'd be thinking, why did I? You know, what am I doing here?
And he was left out the European squad as well, wasn't he?
Well, exactly. I mean, to be honest, right?
Should have started.
Well, exactly. I mean, if he's going to be left out the European squad, then you would have thought, all right, you've been left out for this one, and we all know the issues. We ain't got the homegrown stuff and all that. Then you would have thought, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, right, I'm in. But no. I mean, it's like I told you, Ange's decisions were just
It was strange because you'd have played Spence right back, Gray in midfield, and dropped Sarr. Sarr's been.
He was appalling. Absolutely,
he's dropped off a cliff this season.
Like, I've been saying for a while.
Mark, let me just finish by saying that most of the players are going backwards under Ange.
Yeah. I've been saying for a while that Sarr, he just runs about a lot and doesn't actually do a lot. Because if you look at, well, especially last season, I ain't seen the stats for this season, but he was the one that covered the most ground last season. He just he covered the most ground, game in, game out. But he just runs about a lot and don't do anything.
Make one great surging run down the right, but just couldn't get his cross in, could he? I mean, like,
you look at that cross. You look at his cross from Madison at Villa Park last season. The crossfield ball that finished up with Son's second goal at Palace. You know, the trivial of what he can do, but he's just. I don't know. I don't know. There's a few players there that are just not. They're just not progressing the way they should be.
No. I'll be honest. It's not just him that's regressing. There's a lot of players that are just.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're fed up with his system?
I do.
I think the honeymoon period ended a while ago. And this is just the aftermath of it all. And I mean, honestly, the football I saw against Coventry was worse than AVB and Sherwood. And that's saying a lot. I hate Sherwood.
I mean, with the Spence situation, when I noticed that good going forward against the two games against Bayern and that, all right, he was played out on the left and all that, but, you know, you're a fullback, you know, hold your position as well, even if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Gnabry had so much room. And what got me in that game, the naivety of the players, was that in the first game, Gnabry gets all the freedom of the city on the right-hand side, right? And then in the second game against Bayern, the same again. I mean, I'm looking at this, couldn't believe it, you know, and he still looked good going forward. And they were pre-season games, admittedly. So I'm like that. He's got a good skill set, there's no doubt in that. But I mean, like he made that block yesterday. It's too early to judge these, and that's the problem. We've got too many players that need to gel instantly, and it's not going to happen.
What I'll say, Adrian, is when I first saw Sarr, he really reminded me of, do you remember Ramirez at Chelsea back in the day? Ramirez? Yeah, that's who I likened him to. But the difference is Ramirez was way better than what Sarr is, and Sarr hasn't progressed as a player. Estramatic spoke a lot about Sarr during the off season, if that's the right word to say, and he was saying that when you see Sarr do more box crashing, he called it, so arrive late into the box, have some sort of end product. He's not saying he has to score 20 goals a season or whatever, but he needs to do more with the ball, as in he needs to be more effective when he has the ball.
Yeah.
He's great running, but he just doesn't do much. When he gets it, he doesn't know what to do.
I think it depends. Not making excuses for Sarr, but to me it depends on who your midfield three are. Because if you've got Maddison and Decky as playing virtually as playing as 8 hybrid 10 Decky, you've got Maddison virtually got a free role, but he'll play central and drift left because players are designated areas of the pitch, believe it or not, if people don't know that.
I haven't seen that.
Right. So if you've got Sarr now, who's box to box, are you committing all three of your midfielders up? Because every Spurs fan, every man is.
But my midfield is different.
We're committing too many men forward. What Andrew's got to do is find, and it's not a first team 11. He's got to find the right. Now, I actually think our midfield is improved by the fact that we've had all this possession, not done nothing with it. Our front three is still pants, right? If we could convert some of their possession around the penalty area and the wings into a killer ball so as we get a goal, suddenly we're going to look a different team. But are we going to do that? We wait and see, don't we? We wait and see. We'll score goals, but if we don't improve our play, it will have a detrimental effect on our league position by the end of the season, without a shadow of a doubt. But Andrew's got to find, because we've got 7 midfielders now, if you're including Decky in there. You got the 4 from last season, Bergville, Gray, and Decky. He's got to find blends of threes that work together to get us through the season. And the same should be with our front three. Back 5, 6, no problem. Right? There's no problem with that. That's not an area that bothers me at all. But the midfield three, I said last season, we were getting overrun in games when you had to bring on Højbjerg and Skip, and they did shore it up at times. It did help, but other times it didn't.
There's no balance. That's the problem, mate. Adrian,
it's blend as well as balance, isn't it? It's blend.
But
having the right blend in the midfield for certain games, you pick a team to win a game, you might change a player to do a specific thing for you during a game. You might, and it's the same up front as well.
He doesn't play with a 2 or a 3 or a 6.
No,
work it out. It's chaos. The whole thing's chaos.
Problem is the midfield, right? Is we don't have a number 6 now because we sold both of them and we didn't replace them. So now, if we're going even by the 2 8s and a 10, he's not really even playing with 2 8s and a 10 though, because Kulusevski's, as they say, a hybrid 8/10. So he's basically playing Sarr, who's an 8, or Basuma, who's an 8, or am I missing someone? Bentancur, who's an 8, in my opinion, as the furthest back, who's not actually a 6, and then he's just pushed Kulusevski into one side and Maddison to the other. That's how I've seen it. And on the occasional thing when Maddison gets crowded out, he ends up dropping really deep, and Bentancur takes a slightly higher position. That's what I've seen. I
believe Bentancur played at 6 in Italy, but then the game's slower, and it makes a big difference, right? It makes a big. And yesterday, you talking on it, I think you've hit on something there, because when you was at the game, Ian, so you can come back on this as well. I thought he was told to play a more constrained role, Bentancur, yesterday, as being an experienced midfielder out there. Because he didn't look, because to me, when Bentancur's at his best, he's really driving forward with the ball. He's not as good as ball carrier as Gascoigne or Moussa Dembele were, but he's probably the nearest thing we've got. I think Decky could do that job as well if he played a strict 8 role, right? But I don't know.
Are we going to answer Nita's question?
Sorry? We will.
We're going to answer. Yeah.
We will do. Ian, what were you thinking of Bentancur's yesterday? His role? He looked constrained to me. I thought he was one.
I thought for 90 minutes he was poor, but the pass to Johnson was exquisite.
Winning the ball, and Johnson, we'll talk about him as well.
This is what needs to put here is the problem. Someone like a Grealish would have been perfect in this system, or Eze would have been perfect. They're the sort of players who are game changers, who carry the ball and don't lose them. Problem is that he condenses the play to about 20 yards and smashes the 2 fullbacks in with the midfield boys. So you've literally got 5, and the way he wants to play is to swamp midfield and create chances that way. But the problem is that when the ball breaks, when the move breaks down, we get counter-attacked far too easily. Mm-hmm. And what's worrying is that he's not adapting, because this happens every single game. If we could have come away from Coventry losing 4-0, and the place would have been so toxic, and then, we got away with it. It was a smash and grab, but the system's wrong. It just spawns chaos every match.
The midfield buckled, and that's the first time.
It's not a question of buckling. It's a question that they're too far up. There's no balance in the team. You got Madison has no room, so he has to drop back. So you take him out of areas where he's dangerous. So you're not getting the best out of Madison. I mean, the service for Solanke on Wednesday was just abysmal. Poor bloke must be looking at it, thinking, the service he had at Bournemouth, and he's looking at the service from the wingers here.
But there just wasn't any, was there? There was nothing.
There's nothing.
There weren't even scraps.
I can't remember a worse performance for some time than I saw from Werner.
Werner's, I don't know what people hope for.
I agree with that.
Werner. I would have seen better down the bloody Sunday league than Werner.
Bergvall. All right, he's promised players a half, obviously, to take Bergvall off. And even Udogie off. Those two were doing well. I thought Udogie, it's the best I've seen him this season. Best I've seen him. I mean, and when he's on top of his game, he's just a tank. He's virtually unstoppable. And he wins the ball back for you and everything, Udogie, when he's on song. And I thought we've took 2 players off there that were doing well for us. There's others that could have gone before them, in my opinion. But it didn't happen. We got the one. I celebrate the win. Don't go around. I was singing Spurs on the way to Wembley and stuff like that. Because I'll always celebrate a win. I don't give a fuck.
I did see you put that in the WhatsApp group just to wind it up a bit.
Do you not think?
Any livening up from me, Mark? There was enough livening up going on in there anyway.
Do you not think? I mean, you'll know better than me. You were much closer with the television cameras, and we were high up, second row from the back, and facing the pitch. We were in the left-hand corner. But it looked to me like Udogie took a couple of heavy challenges first half. He had to get Spence on, and Bergvall came off. That was a straight swap for Maddison. So he probably thought Bergvall's had, I don't know when Maddison came on, 70, 75 minutes. The second half just seemed, I just lost track with the second half. It was just horrendous. But Maddison came on and he did make a difference. So for me, Bergvall was the best player in the first half. There weren't many to pick from, to be honest. And, that's why he made the changes. Ultimately, the changes turned the game.
Kulusevski saved us, in my opinion.
Yeah. What did you think about taking Solanke off? Didn't he replace Solanke with Son in the middle?
Yeah, Son went up front.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that. I'd have taken Werner off and played Son left.
I don't think he would have done anything off the left.
The problem is that it's interesting because you should have your left back overlapping rather than playing inside. As it happened, Spence played like a sort of burst through. He had space on the left. Coventry were tiring, and he actually and he made his way, and nobody tracked his run. Thankfully, there was one midfield. Mark Robbins will be looking at that, thinking, well, the guy's come from just inside his own half. Why did no one track his run after he's laid the ball off to Maddison?
Yeah. No.
Nothing's wrong. It's just chaos generally.
Am I right in saying, Ian, that when Bergvall got took off, the Spurs fans booed?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. They were really cheesed off the thing about Bergvall was that when he's on the ball, he gets it and he moves it very quickly. And he was the only one that was playing it forwards, and he was trying to create space, trying to create little pockets of space for players to run into. I think he's a class act.
I will say taken to him because they've seen him to what he did against the 2 games against Bayern Munich, and one we were being overrun before he came on, and one of them games, right? And the
Second
fans
half was excellent.
really taken to him already. They've seen enough. They know they're not mugs. They're, most football fans have got good knowledge of the game.
Yeah. I will say, I completely understand why that we scouted him and we bought him, because he has looked ready. He has looked ready since he's come in. All right, he's still young, but he's 18 or something, or 19, but he is definitely ready.
You need to bring these kids in when you've got when you got your first team around them.
Yeah, you drip feed them.
That's what City do with Foden and Lewis and all these other lot. They had a settled side and squad, and they just drip fed them in every so often.
They have a doctor, didn't they?
Yeah.
Problem with us is we have so many young players that you can't really drip feed them, because you're chucking them in all together most of the time, and like we did. And
how many games do you need to judge a player?
10.
Right, let's say someone they're just covered in stardust and they're absolutely brilliant from day one or something like that.
Let me put this to you, Adrian. Friend of mine, players can look good or bad depending on how teammates read them. Donnelly, friend of mine, goes every week to Orient.
Class.
So Donnelly is playing some fantastic through balls, and he's giving the ball away, and people are saying, you could turn around and say, he's lost possession, but he's only lost possession because they're too clever for the centre forwards for the forwards they've got. So it's difficult to judge. You can't say, well, he gave the ball away 4 times. Maybe he gave the ball away because he's trying to find an opening and nobody's moving for him.
And shouts.
You got to analyse a game. You can't just say, well, he gave the ball away several times, so he's crap.
Yeah.
You got to look at it. You got to look at each individual situation, which the analysts do, and they go through every move with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
Wayne Burnett with Donnelly, because he was brought in as a striker from Northern Ireland, and Wayne Burnett converted him to a number 10. And he looks, when I watched nearly all the under, I think I watched them all in the end on playback, the under 21 games last season.
Yeah.
And he's got that. Can he do it at this level? Yeah, I think he can as well, actually. I do believe he could do it at this level, but that's only my opinion. And it's easy to be proved wrong than it is to be proved right with footballers.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another player. I've been.
Well, just 1 minute. Dan, Hotspur Hood. If you want the link, mate, I got it. If you want to come on,
You can come on, Dan.
Yeah. Just put it in the chat, yes or no, or I don't know whether you've been streaming today.
Or you might have, you might be just chilling.
Yeah. The offer's there, though.
Let's move on to a player I've been critical of even before we even brought him into the club. Let's move on to Brennan Johnson. Alan, for all the abuse he's been taking, which I think is absolutely disgusting. Right? I don't know why players actually have social media accounts, because you're only on a hide into nothing. Because you're never going to be brilliant every game. Don't have the account. If you was a club and you could ban it, but you can't, because that'd be a gagging filter anyway, and that would be wrong. But why the hell have you got a social media account? But the one thing I will say about the kid yesterday, and he is a kid, 23 now, I think. When Bentancur won that ball, he ran into space and he held his arm up and he called for it. At least he had the balls to call for the ball. And the finish for someone who's had that much abuse, that was a good finish. Yeah,
it was a brilliant finish. Right. Look, the internet is a horrible place, just in general. So, when it comes to having social media accounts, especially if you're going to be a professional footballer, you kind of have to have a thick skin, and I understand.
Definitely,
he's young, but it's never going to be a happy place. Not really. Even if you're Harry Kane, because I see his Twitter account, and he gets a lot of hate as well. And it's Harry Kane, who's, I think a much better player than Brennan Johnson. But as far as Brennan Johnson's second performance second half performance, and and the goal and his resilience. I feel bad that he has to get so much hate, but I understand the fans' frustration with him. We put a lot of money into him. For a team that doesn't spend big money, we spent a lot of money on him. I guess Ange wanted him, which for better or worse puts him in the limelight, because it was one of Ange's first. It was his big signing, right? His first big signing was Brennan Johnson. And that puts an uncomfortable limelight on him, whether he likes it or not. And, I'm glad that he had the resilience to find a way to make that goal happen. I mean, he put he did everything right in that moment. Everything he did was right in that moment, and it needed to be. And the team needed it. Not just him, but I think the whole team needed it. So I hope that it's a turning point for him. I hope the fans can at least maybe lay off a little bit. But it's going to come with the territory, because he was Ange's first big pick, and we as fans expected a lot from him, because he was kind of, again, when you're a team that doesn't spend a lot on players, we're not known for spending big money. We spent 48 million on him. So there's going to be expectations, and unfortunately he hasn't met many of those expectations, even though the stats may tell a different tale. Overall, he seems to choke in the final third. He just looks like he's scared. He looks sick almost sometimes when he's trying to kick the ball. Like he doesn't want to get the ball. But when he gets it, he kind of looks really freaked out, like a deer in headlights. So I'm hoping that maybe he can overcome that in the coming games. I think he's better as an impact sub than he is a starter. I think maybe coming on as a sub, the pressure isn't there to perform like it is with a starter. Because you get the advantage of having fresh legs when everyone else is tired. But I don't agree with the abuse. I mean, flame him for not playing well, but I don't like the personal attacks. Personally, I'm not big on personal attacks.
I've been guilty when he first come. Before he come, I weren't keen. I said bringing in another ready player that should have been drip fed into the squad, yet he was given so many games because we had all these injury problems. Have I and other Spurs fans been a bit too hard on him? I mean, 15 GA last season. It's not bad stats for a 23-year-old.
It's not, for me, it's not even the price tag. I think he's just not good enough for this level. If we want to be like challenging for the title or something, or have any aspirations to win anything this season, I just don't think he's good enough. He might be good off the bench for like the last 10 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, where he's got a bit of pace and the team's a bit tired. But I think if you really want to win something, I don't think he's the kind of player you want. And maybe Forrest was his level. I mean, we were talking really brutally honest. But obviously his abuse he got wasn't right. But I've been critical of him, which is different from abuse, by the way, a lot, because not because I expect more because of his price tag. It's more just because, I mean, like I said, if we want to challenge for titles and stuff, he needs to be hitting more numbers. He needs to not have the highest big missed chances with Werner like he did last season, because together they had like the highest 2 or something in big missed chances. And I don't know. I mean, the second season, you'd hope to see some improvement. I haven't yet to see in his all-round game some improvement. I know he got the goal the other night, but I just don't think he's good enough. And I think next season, or next summer, right, we need to cut our losses with him and sell him, because I just don't see how he's going to get that much better. And we have a habit of holding on to players for the sake of holding on to players. And then later down the line, we're like, why do you hold on to this guy for 4 or 5 years? He hasn't got better. And he might get another 5-6 goals this season, or 10 goals at the very max, but I just don't think he's going to get enough for us to really win something.
Do you not think it would help if he got played in this proper position? That would be a start, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
What's
He
his
was.
proper position then?
Another example of this manager putting round pegs in square holes.
Because he was in the inside right position when he scored the goal yesterday. He was inside right, really, not centre
He was
forward.
inside right. He wasn't out on the wing.
But I don't think Adge plays any of our players in their prop positions anyway.
No.
I mean, we have Boro, who's the best crosser at the club, playing inverted.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me personally. And then you got, Maddison, as everyone alludes to every single week now, he's been stifled by the inversion because he has no space and he ends up dropping deep. So it's like we're just playing players in positions for the sake of playing them to the system, rather than say playing. I'd rather see the fullbacks go wide and our wingers invert.
Absolutely.
That would be
AJ. Go on, Karen. Finish what you got to say first, Ed.
Yeah, but he just, like you alluded to, at Forest he was more of like a second striker, wasn't he? I thought. But
Yeah.
I didn't see that much of him, so. But I don't know. For me, it's not even the price tag. I know we could have signed him for 30 million earlier in the window because Brentford, I think, agreed 30 million. And we went and paid 50. But that's not my qualms with him. I just look at him as a player. I just don't think he has all the attributes on paper to be an amazing player. Like he's got pace, but I don't think he has a footballing brain. I think that's the biggest problem.
AJ, do you think? I mean, we must hope. I mean, they must have done the data analysis, and they had enough look at him because Paratici, when he looked at him, we'd looked at him before he got. I looked at him, weren't impressed, but that's just me. It doesn't mean I'm no expert. I'm just a fan, right? But do we think that unlike Werner, who's probably reached his ceiling, never going to get better, only going to deteriorate or stay the same, right? Do we think that like Johnson must have a higher ceiling? He's got more to offer, or do we think he's a lost cause?
First and foremost, you can dislike a player. You can think they're not very good. You can think they don't fit the system. They're not at your level. That's all fine. When you're taking the time to find them on social media and you're targeting them personally for either their race, their spouses, their sexuality, you're personally attacking them. That's never acceptable. Personally attacking somebody over football is never acceptable. It doesn't matter who's being attacked or who's attacking. It's never acceptable. If you're that sort of person, there is something wrong with you. You keep it football. In the game, he didn't do much until he was needed, until the big moment came. And with everything that's gone on, the way he's been treated, that's a lot. To see your teammate pick up the ball, win the ball. He's made that run, as you said. He made that run. Brilliant run, kept himself on side, held his hand up. He was calling for the ball. He wanted the ball. He could have shied away from that in those moments. It would have been well easy for him to drift offside, drop back and pick up the ball and not have a direct route on goal. But he didn't do that. He stood up tall. He wanted the ball. And it was a brilliant finish. A brilliant finish. He's not a winger. He's a wide forward. He's not a winger. A winger in this system is meant to play out wide, get chalk on your boots to create the space for your fullbacks to invert and to take a man on and try and beat them. He's not that. He hasn't got that ability. He's not a brilliant dribbler. What he is good at is having that acceleration to burst in behind when the ball is played. And watch him time and time again. When he performs, it's in exactly that scenario. He makes those runs in behind, and he gets in behind his man. The ball's played, and he's either assisting or scoring. He's a wide forward. He's not a winger. And if he's utilised, like the rest of the players in this team, if they are utilised and played in their correct position, you're going to see the best in them. If you're playing them out this way, shoehorning them into the wrong position, square pegs in round holes, you're just going to create a situation where nobody is going to be performing. Everyone's going to get pissed off. But keep it football, regardless. Keep it football. Don't be attacking somebody personally because you don't think they're particularly good.
Dan, welcome to the show. I didn't keep you too long. There was 6 along the bottom. I couldn't see below that. Do you think we're just discussing Johnson? The abuse, I thought was disgusting. But do you think he's? I asked AJ the same question. Do you think he's a lost cause, or do you think he's got a higher ceiling?
I don't rate him. I think he's a shit player, but then people take that word too deeply as such. I suppose you use words from where you grew up, how you speak as such. Some people just take words too deep. AJ's right. We had this chat earlier over a page of WhatsApp as a whole and that. There's two total different things. To turn around and say you think the player's shit or you think he's poor or you think he's incapable or whatever, it's totally different to turning around and basically grilling a player, a person because of his race, because of his gender, because of his sexuality, because of whatever. It's got nothing to do with football. I don't care about his race. I don't care what turns him on. I don't care what he decides to be when he's not playing football. As long as he plays football, that's all I care about. So what he gets up to in his private life, I couldn't give a shit. And that's uncalled for. But on the other side of it, with him getting the stick he gets, well, a lot of it is deserved because he has been playing a shambles for us 9 times out of 10. And you can't just always have the good sides in life. You can't just have it that we blow sunshine up his ass when he plays well, but then just shut up and keep quiet when he's playing poor, just to keep a few people happy. Well, keep a lot of people happy who don't actually like it, who say it's abusive, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. No, it comes with the game. Now, my attitude to that, obviously different to other people, where I grew up and had to do things and that, grow a pair. Man up. Only he can fix what he's doing. He can't have his hand held for the rest of his life, especially in a sport like football. He's got to get his shit together, basically. Now, is Ange playing in the right system? Is he playing in the right way? It wouldn't surprise me if he's not, because I think there's about 6 or 7 players you can put in there that they're not playing to their best system. They're not playing to the best. Like you've got Porro and Udogie inverted when they should be overlapping is where you'd see the best out of them. So maybe AJ's right there on that one. I can't say I see him much at Nottingham Forest, but since he's been at Spurs, I think he's got one of the worst records of crossing in Europe, like actually getting it right as such. I can't think of the right thing for it. And yeah, his stick off the pitch to do with his football, take it like a man, get your act together, like every other player has to take it. But
surely there's a difference
when it's not to do with football, it's not called for. It's not right. But purely to do with football.
I come from a different angle to that, Dan. I mean, like, I've got nothing against justified critiques. I've got everything against hateful abuse. I can't abide it.
Exactly.
That's me, right? And to receive the hateful abuse, this is why I've said earlier, I don't know if you was listening, that like I don't know why footballers even bother to have social media accounts. I think it's like, you know, it's virtual suicide for them personally. Just don't bother. Clubs can't ban it. You don't have it. You just don't have it. I just think because
you're always going to have that one that don't like you.
If I could see a benefit from social media that would somehow boost a player's confidence who is having a rough time and things like that, help improve his game in any way, all I see from social media was sports people, you know, involved in any sports is you're on a hide into nothing, basically. You're on a hide into nothing. I don't see any positives out of it, right? I mean, sports fans, if they vent their spleen on there, it makes them feel a bit better. That's different, you know. But I don't see anything positive in social media. I'm sure the clubs must have sort of guidance counsellors about all this stuff, and whether the players listen to it or not, I don't know. But you know, I just don't understand why they volunteer for the abuse, because you're being masochistic having a channel.
Mate,
problem is, Adrian,
right.
is that
you're gonna.
I was going to say that.
Go on, mate.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry, mate.
Go on, you come back afterwards, Dan.
Yeah. As in, look, I agree with the abuse not being on. By the way, like it's totally not on. I didn't see any of it, so I can only gauge on what people told me because I don't know. I don't do that sort of thing, so I wouldn't really know. But at the same time, I think if you're a footballer or you're a public figure of any sort, you need to have thicker skin. Like you need to be able to take hate. I'm sorry, like you do. Like we even take hate on this from people, not in this chat right now, but I've been on the shows and I've had people write nonsense about me in the chat.
Yeah.
And I guess I've just taken it, I guess, right? But then I think for footballers or any public figure, they need to be able to have better mental strength than this. And
Yeah.
social media, I agree with you, Adrian, they shouldn't have social media, but unfortunately in the day and age we are to do with football, they do have it because of brands and all this other stuff. And a lot of them might actually want to have one because of some other reasons. I don't know. So it should be sort of their choice. But yeah, I just think they need to have thicker skin, really. At the same time, I don't agree with it, but they do need to have thicker skin.
I think it's not just football, but it's life in general.
Yeah.
The world is so woke these days, and so as soon as you criticise someone in any sort of way, you're either bullying them or offending them or anything like that. I think people as a whole, not just football, but we are on football, so I will say footballers have been brought up in such a little bubble, in such a little nice place, that all of a sudden they get dropped in the middle of the football pitch and bang, there you go, the world hits them and they're not ready for it. Look at the amount of crap that John Barnes and Paul Ince had to take. Having bananas thrown at their head and everything else. You black this, you this, you that. And what did they do? And got on with it. As soon as a player gets a bit
and Lampard
of
at the same towards the end of their careers.
And what I'm saying is,
I'd say
and then look at the bit of stick.
Sol Campbell.
No, you're
I
shit.
was
You're
going to say
playing
Campbell
football.
already. So.
You're not
Sol Campbell.
You're playing.
Sol
shit.
Campbell's a different.
You're an awful player. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're curling up in their little balls and crying, basically. That is where I say it may sound harsh for some, but that's where I say grow a pair, be a man. Man up, fix up.
Yeah.
Players got it 10 times worse than what they did. But on the other side of it, I can't agree with all the racial abuse he gets and everything else. But he don't get nothing to what the others did. But telling a player shit, deal with it.
Dan, I agree. I totally agree. What Ewan has just said. I do think everything's got far too soft and snowflakey, and you've got to be nice to everyone, and you can't hurt anyone's feelings. I think everything's got far too soft, and I'm old school. I believe in saying what you mean. I don't believe in being deliberately offensive. I don't believe anyone's got the right to go out and deliberately insult somebody for the colour of their skin, for their sexuality. That's pathetic. But if you're saying, for instance, we had a disagreement, didn't we, about whether or not it's okay to say a player shit. Personally, I think a player that's played for 2 Premier League teams, that various coaching staff have assessed and says he's got the ability. He's playing professional football. He plays international football. For me, that player can't be shit. He can play shit. He can play really badly. He might not be at the level we need him to be, but that's me personally. You think differently, and that's fine. But I saw you on a stream the other day, and I don't name names of people, but somebody had the opinion of, oh, if you get that sort of abuse, you've got to just accept it. And you stood up and you were like, absolutely not. And you defended Brennan Johnson. You said, no, football related, absolutely, but you don't attack someone personally. And
no, you don't need to.
Although we disagree on certain things, that's one thing we definitely agree on. Personally attacking someone, whether it's 2024 or 1994, that's never acceptable. Somebody being gay, somebody being black, somebody being Indian, American, that's got absolutely no relevance to their ability as a footballer, and it shouldn't even be a factor.
Right, on the ability thing, right? I've heard many complaints about he's got this pace, and he is. Him and Odobert are, apart from VDV, including him, our fastest front players are actually Solanke, Odobert, and Johnson. And there's been a lot of comments. I get where they're coming from, that he doesn't beat his man, he doesn't take his man on. If you watch most Premier League games, now I'm not saying he shouldn't, right? There are not many wingers out there that take the man on. Bale might have done it, be outstanding. Eden Hazard was good. He'd take you, stand you up from a still start and go past you. Very few can do that. Mostly on the pitch now, it's all about overloads from defence to play out from the back, overloads in midfield, overloads on both wings, overloads through the centre. It's what it's all about, because if you've got a 2v1 in any position on the pitch, you should be able to progress with the ball and get your crosses in. So, and also before you get a cross in, you've got to have someone to cross it to, which has been one of our failings as well. Helps if someone's in the box, other than the goalkeeper, So, I've seen him beat players, and I've seen him when he ain't up for it. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, or what, or he's seeing something I'm not seeing, or if it's especially if it's a televised game and you don't see all the pitch. I see more when I'm at the ground because I'll look at patterns of play. More when I'm not magnetically attracted to the ball all the time, more than when play's slow. There's a free kick corner and looking at shape and things like that. I'm sure Ian does it as well. I'm sure you guys do it as well when you're at games. You know. Anyone else got anything more to talk about that?
Yes, I mean, in terms of social media criticism, I think opinions are fine. I think that if you're going to have a pop at somebody, I think it's got to be, number one, it's got to be measured, and it's got to have substance. You can't just turn around and say, "Oh, he's shit." Like someone turned around to me on a podcast yesterday about Archie Gray. He's shit. Let's get it right. His performance on Wednesday was shit. There was no background. Why was he shit? So fine. So he's shit because give 3 or 4 reasons. Don't just disregard.
Yeah,
so
that's I'm very much like that.
That's lazy. That's lazy. And I was surprised for someone who said he watches loads of games. He should be actually coming back to me and saying, I think it was poor because A, B, C, D, and E. You know, I was actually asked, why do I think Gray and Bergvall are decent players? Because they're comfortable on the ball, their movement's good, their control is good. I think they've got good vision. And I think ultimately, as the season goes on, as they're given more chance, and as they're helped by the experienced players around them, I think they will grow as Spurs players. And I think that was, as I sort of alluded to when we were talking about the Coventry game, to throw Odegaard, Gray and Bergvall in a reserve team, they should be coming into the team with the first team players in. Because it's, I mean, the first team is chaotic, is chaotic at the best of times. But when you play a second team, in effect, it was, you just had three players. How do you expect youngsters to come in and perform as well as they can do when you haven't got a cohesive unit, because players are not used to playing together? You know, they're played out of position, and they played in even worse chaos. You know, they played, and that's why I didn't expect too much when I saw that team on Wednesday. It reminded me of the European games. You know, when we used to have 10 and 11, we'd have a B team playing, and everybody said, "Oh, they're crap." You know, we lost. Was it to Mura? We lost to Zagreb, we lost to this one, we lost to that one. But when you're playing loads and loads of reserves who aren't used to playing together, who are rusty because they've hardly played a game for several weeks, what do people expect? You know, it didn't surprise me that Coventry...
It wasn't the right mix, Ian. He didn't pick the right mix. He didn't pick the right mix of players. If he wanted to, No, I mean, especially for like non-Premier League games, he never picks the right mix.
We'll move on to Brentford in a few seconds, right?
I had my say yet.
Well, go on then, Mark, say something.
No, right. The abuse Brennan's got is keep it on football, definitely. If you think he's shit, definitely. Because when I grew up, if you disagree with someone, you know, you'd have a scrap about it. You know what I mean? And then after the scrap, you'd go and buy each other a pint or something, you know? You know, but you wouldn't go on there and report them to the police because they hit you. You know what I mean? It's too soft to society today. I mean, I hope, well, obviously the personal attacks, I didn't see what was said. Obviously, I ain't got Twitter or anything like that. If it's personal, that's bad. That's wrong. That's wrong. But if people are just saying he's crap and that, that's, to me, put it this way. If I wasn't performing at my job, I'd be sacked. You know, you'd certainly go through the process. You'd get warnings, you know, you're not performing, blah, 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 blah. And if you didn't, you'd be out. You know, I'm not saying you should be sacked, by the way. Let's get that straight. But, like, it's a way of life. I mean, the way you should look at it, if you get a few kicks, you come back stronger and fight it.
Right. The
In
draw.
one thing quickly, Adrian. I totally agree with what Ian said. If you're just going to sit there and say a player's shit, but you've got no reason for it, then I think that's the same as anything in life again. There's a reason behind everything, or there should be, or you should be able to give a reason for everything. Why do I despise Brussels sprouts so much? Well, I'll give you reasons for it, sort of thing. But right, with Johnson, right, the only thing the boy's got is pace to him. I say boy, he's not a boy, he's a man, he's 23. Wrong phrase to put, yeah. The only thing he's got behind him is pace. But he hasn't got the balls to take a man on. He can't dribble the ball come love nor money. He can't cross 9 times out of 10. He needs like 10 chances to do it, to get it right once. His shooting's not the worst, but it's definitely not good. His passing is absolute shambles 9 times out of 10. And his actual skill as a footballer is basically, do you ever see it? And that the list can go on. There is my reasons why I say I think he's a shit player. But again, I think it's a word taken too deep, because there's a lot of words you can say where they can mean 10 different things. I mean, I can call my mate in the pub and effing see you next Tuesday, nudge him like that, and he's taken with a pinch of salt and we're laughing. But then I could turn around and say that to someone and get a smack in the face for it. You see what I'm saying? I think a lot of it just comes down to people have a different vocabulary from where they've grown up or from where they've been or for whatever else. And some people, certain words, it just doesn't suit them. But then I'm not going to change my way of describing something just to keep half the world happy as such. But Ian, I totally agree. You've got to have reasons behind why you think someone is shit, not good enough, whatever phrase you want to use. And I've just given my reasons why I do not rate him in the slightest. And I'm surprised he's even a Premiership player.
Can I put you up on just the thing about crossing, Dan? Is I think that we are very much a one-trick pony, aren't we? The way we attack.
Extremely.
It's get the ball down wide and hit the ball low into the 6-yard box. That's what he's told to do. Yeah, everybody was saying, I was involved in discussions on a podcast saying that when he was at Newcastle, he broke down the right, and instead of pulling it back, he put a ball across the box. Now, I think Solanke would have been there. Kane definitely would have been there. Salah probably would. Most top strikers would have been there. I didn't understand, as Sonny is a top striker, why Sonny's on the edge of the box. But this is what these are his tactics. Get down and put the ball across the box into a dangerous area, into the 6-yard area. It worked, funny enough. Porro last season, and the guy Matic put the ball into the back of his own net in the last minute. He great ball into the 6-yard box, and it was sliced in.
It can work.
It can work.
Sarah at Villa. There's a reason why these low crosses are
correct. And Johnson for Richarlison, 2 or 3 of his goals, one with I think Everton before Christmas, whipped the ball in. Richie put it in. There were 1 or 2 others that he put in for Richie as well. So it does work. The problem there is that he needs to give the players license to play and have different options and different ways of playing. Whereas he only wants the ball whipped in. It's a very narrow.
All right, let's be clear why they are.
What you said that. I'll get you clear why you said that. Yeah, it's a fair point. But I'm sorry if someone tells me to walk off a 10-story building, I'm not doing it. If he has got the actual mentality to play football and is a quality football player, I get you follow your manager, but surely some of it is just common sense. There's nobody there. I don't care what the manager's telling me. I'm not just going to whip it through the middle and just make myself look even worse. I'm going to control the ball.
Yeah.
Wait a split second if I've got it for someone to go in there. If I haven't, I'm going to buy us time by passing it back and passing it and whatever way. Yeah, that is the mentality of a good footballer, of a great footballer, of what world-class footballers used to do. You do so much the manager tells you, but you also make your own mind up on the pitch. Now, if he's that much of a puppet that he can only do what he's told to, then to me, that makes him an even worse player.
There's a right and a wrong there, Dan. You're right in terms of get your head up, have a look, see who's around. The wrong part is if Angie's telling the centre forward to hit the 6 yard box, then Johnson's job is to get out, even if he doesn't beat a player, but he makes the space to whip it in. Like Perisic was perfect at that, wasn't he? Never beat a player, but found the space, putting brilliant crosses. Boy, we have missed him since
he always was good at it. I watched him at Inter Milan so many times at Bayern Munich. He was brilliant at it, but he could cross multiple crosses, not just drill it.
Yeah, but but going back to Johnson whips the ball in. It's got to be a centre forward's responsibility. If part of the tactics is the centre forward hits the 6 yard box when he sees Johnson going down the right, then it's not Johnson's responsibility for Son to make that run. It's Sonny's responsibility to make that run, because this is what's being drilled into him in training.
Mm-hmm. Isn't a lot of it common sense, Ian? Though, like
yes, it is. You're right as well. As I said, there's a right and a wrong, but the problem is that they are drilled to play a certain way, and you're right. It is robotic, Adrian, and you're right. There isn't enough individuality in the game anymore. I mean, look at the players when we were kids and growing up. You had all your Stan Bowles and your Hudsons and players like that were terrific. Eddie Gray. You had loads, and moving on, you had your Ginolas of this world. Gazzers. I mean, how many players that play like Gascoigne? Seriously. You can't think of any. Musiala is probably the only player in Europe who plays like Gascoigne.
Right. On the crossing aspect, right, the tactic behind it, like the coaching tactic behind the crossing, putting a low cross into the box. I mean, it's easy to understand. I mean, like, in theory, though, when a winger's putting a cross in a box, the other winger, even if it was a wing back, it'd be the other wing back should be coming, or the other winger should be coming on a far post. Your centre forward should be in your box. You should have an attacking midfielder breaking into the box if you're in those positions. If the attack weren't so quick, the winger's got to wait for players to catch up, right? And you put it in at waist height or whatever, or you put a cross in like Sarr did away at Villa, because they are the hardest crosses to defend. If it's along the ground, you can clear it with your foot. Chances are a defender will get it. If it's in the air, a big lump of a centre half is going to clear it away. You put it in waist height or 2 feet off the ground, right? It can go anywhere on a pinball table. So it can work in your favour against you. So there's a reason why and we don't do it all the time, because Werner and Johnson have ballooned a lot of balls, over the far side of the pitch. I mean, they've done it between them, haven't they?
I'll be honest with you, Adrian. Adrian. Surely, though, if you're a winger, you've got to look up and find your man in the box.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, surely. I mean, you can't just kick the thing like any old owl in the box and just hope it.
Only one caveat to that. Unless you go back in the 80s when Spurs had Tony Galvin or someone like that, and you've even got an Aaron Lennon who didn't always look up, but he knew where the players were.
I bet they did.
Yeah, but he did look up, but at times they don't. Sometimes you're marked closely. You've got to whip it in and hope that one.
Adrian, isn't that down to the team cohesion and team chemistry? If you remember Berghoff and Keane, for example, as a duo, they knew where each other were, right?
It's the same that Maddison and Son have developed an understanding, haven't they? Yeah,
Kane and Son was like that.
Kane and Son, that's right.
Johnson
and Son, right?
And Johnson and Solanke, for example. Solanke's probably
when Maddison tends to link well on the left, and he'll even go down the left side of the penalty area and link up with you, Doggy, or whoever's around then. Son might come over to the left to really back him up if Son ain't the one in a more forward position. I see these little patterns. I see what they're trying to do with the overloads, but it isn't clicking at the moment. If it clicked in a few of those games and we'd buried some chances,
Well, we haven't created any to bury them.
You've got to create them, exactly, Mark. No one's arguing.
What I'm trying to say is, because I don't know what, for example, our best attacking three is. I don't know what our best attacking midfield three is either. And back in the Scotch days, the Redknapp days, you knew pretty much what the side was going to be. So by default, those players playing regularly together, and they developed like a chemistry. With us, I don't know what our best right winger is. So that is going to be our striker.
This is the problem. This is what Ange has got to sort out. He's got to sort out, because when people say best attacking three, no. When they say best field, no. He's got to find blends of 3 out of the 7, if you include Decky, that work together, and blends of what attackers we've got, whether we think they're good or not, because we're going to play in loads of games. It shouldn't be like, what's our best 11? It should be
The
what's
problem is,
our
Adrian, is
best
that
team.
I guess my belief of building a squad or basically a squad is different from everyone else's. And I look at Liverpool as an example. Liverpool went and bought obviously Salah, Mane, and Firmino, who played regularly together for God knows what, a year or two, and then they brought in players around that 11, right, who were close to that level, right? But initially they built that 11 first, right? But we haven't even done that, right? We went and signed more youngsters in the summer. So if we built an 11 and then we top that off with players close to that level, or we had to fill in a better position with a better player, for example, then it's easier to interchange players. But because right now I don't even know what our best team is,
and the squad isn't complete.
Something like I don't think there's even like a foundation of like a skeleton of a spine or a team where you can.
But the squad isn't complete enough, is it?
There's no balance, is there, Adrian? We don't play with a 2. We don't play with a 2 or a 3 or a 6. We play players out of position. We cause problems for the players we brought in, like Maddison, who's forced to drop back. It's chaos. The whole thing is chaos. You know,
I agree with you on the 6 aspect, right? I don't agree with the 2 and the 3. When I've looked at the home games I've been to this season, we've not had 2 centre backs stuck on the halfway line. The least we've had on the halfway line, so there has been a sign of a change there. The least we've had on the halfway line is a 3 for any extended period of time during the game. And most
Where
of the
did
time,
Newcastle catch us? They caught us with
4.
every single player on the halfway line.
Hold on, when they caught, we had 4, but who played them all onside Dragerson? And the other 3 were in line. And that's because Dragerson's not used to playing at that. I'm not blaming him for it, and Romero can take the blame because he's the senior centre back there. He should be marshalling the back 4. So Dragerson didn't know where to stick or twist in that game. Even on the first goal, Dan, this is only my opinion for what it's worth. You know what I mean? In the first goal, you had Romero had gone forward to press. But we had 6 in a line, and you had Basuma and Dragerson. And Dragerson was in the right centre-back position, and he was in the right centre-back position for the second goal. So Romero was playing left centre-back, right? And then you still had Udogie, Sarr, and all that. And either Dragerson or Basuma, and it should really have been Dragerson, should have gone a close. Mate, you scored. Forget his name now. Barnes. Right. Should have closed him, but they switched off, right? Well, so there's lots of wrongs with what we're doing. You know, I mean, I admit I'm not defending them for that, but these things don't get sorted out straight away when you've got new players that haven't, like you said, Ian, rightly so, alluded to about. How do you expect 8 changes to gel?
Okay, I'm going to jump, but I'm going to make 2 points quick, First one, has anyone read Alex Ferguson's autobiography?
Yes.
Yes, right. What did he say?
Actually, Dan, they're both very good.
Extremely good. What did he say what happened with him and David Beckham when they totally kicked off? Beckham done a cross, which he was basically told to play by how they were told to play by Ferguson. Ferguson went off his nut at him about it afterwards. He turned around and said to Ferguson, "What you having a go at me for, Gaffer? It's what you tell me to do." He said, "I don't give a fuck what I'm telling you to do. Use your common sense, boy." That's off one of the greatest managers ever. Other point is, this team should have adapted by now. We've only got 1 player in that team that didn't play last season in that first 11. 1. And he has had more time than basically any other top 7 manager to get this team to work. But it hasn't. It's gone downhill and it's getting worse and worse and worse. For me, again, personal opinion. When my man says he's not going to adapt, when my man still comes on after nearly getting cooked yesterday and says we're still going to try and challenge, we're still going to challenge for the title, for me, he's just too stubborn. We got to cut our losses and say goodbye to this fella because it's just going to get worse and worse and worse because it looks like he's lost the dressing room.
I mean, we're going to have to disagree on that one, Dan. But
but it looks like he's lost. It looks like he's lost the dressing room because the players.
You're right.
The players just don't. They don't look like they like the style of play. They don't look like they can handle his style of play. And my man's he's just not going to adapt. So I think it's just one of them ones that, even though it all starts again and none of us wanted to do it, but you're going to have to admit to a mistake again, cut your losses and start again. or do we wait for this to go really tits up over to next season where we sit there and this season is a complete waste of space, which is still more than savable? And what do you do? I suppose it works both ways, but I say cut our losses and get rid of him because he's not going to adapt. His tactics are too poor for the Premiership. He doesn't play with a 6. He's always leaving that back wide open. And to top the last bit before I go, he even said we play more attacking football, so we're going to concede more goals. And basically, I don't care. I can't have faith in a manager that contradicts himself as much as this man has. But that's last opinion. Thanks for having us on. It's appreciated. I'm going to go.
Cheers, Dan.
Take care, mate.
You're always welcome to come on, you know.
Cheers,
No,
Dan.
appreciate it. Take care. Bye.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, Dan.
Yeah, so we have to. So, do you? I suppose you all three think he's lost it. I'm the soul.
I have a different take on Ange. I think this guy is.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I think we're just wasting our time with him, but it's mainly because of his tactics. It's not like I don't hate him as a person. I'm sure he's a lovely guy or something, but I just don't think he knows what he's doing tactically. And I think the players, he may have not lost the players mentally, but I just think they don't really believe in the system. Like Maddison, especially. I think he did an interview the other week, and someone was implied that he wasn't happy really with the kind of football he was playing in terms of the position he was being forced to go back to. And it just doesn't. I don't think Ange gets the best out of the players we have. We should be playing Porro wider, and we should be inverted the wingers. If we're going to say Johnson's not a natural winger, and Son's not a natural winger, so that's, we need to do the opposite of basically what he's doing. And I just think I don't think that the players don't like him as like in that sort of sense. I just don't think they like the football in terms of the style, and because they've been playing football for years. I imagine most of them.
How can you not like playing attacking football?
Huh?
No.
He's laughing at something to chat.
I was laughing at Jacob. I was laughing at Jacob. Jacob's just in for the wind-up, I think.
Yeah, he's been throwing lots of... No, that's fine. Yeah. Jacob's just been throwing banter.
No. I just keep laughing at Jacob's comments.
No, that's okay. I mean, like...
I think Ange needs time. I think he needs time. I think if you look at the games, if you look at the results, okay, and you can go, right, we've lost 2, we scraped through against Coventry. Let's just ignore the Coventry game for a minute. The last 2 seasons, we've gone to St James's Park and absolutely been torn a new one. We've been battered. We were the better team for most of the game, and they capitalised on the chance. They put the ball through, they capitalised, they got the goal, they won the game 2-1. Arsenal, a team that everybody keeps saying they're title challengers, they're up there with Man City, they've got a great squad. We keep getting told that we're nowhere near them. How can we even dream of competing with them? They beat us with 1 goal, 1 set piece, and it was a mistake by Romero. So we're not getting torn apart, embarrassed, battered, humiliated. We're the better team. We have been the better team, the most expansive, the most attacking team in all the games we've played, with the exception of Coventry. So had we been able to create enough chances, take our chances, we'd be sitting here winning all of the games. Well, what a great position we're in. A couple of things that are different, and we're in a totally different situation. If it clicks, if the players buy into everything, if he can adapt, yes, he is a stubborn arsehole. He is far too stubborn. I like the guy, but he's far too stubborn. You cannot be. The best coaches in world football have a plan B and a plan C, even up to a plan F, if things aren't going right. You can't just bury your head in the sand and go, this is the way we're doing it regardless, because it's not going to work out for you. Sometimes you need to adapt. And that's the one area I think he's losing the results. Every team loses. Manchester City.
I'm fully in, Jim. I'm fully in. I like what I'm seeing. We've got different perceptions of what we're seeing. That's fine. I haven't got a problem with you lot disagreeing with me. Doesn't bother me that much. I mean, I look where he has adapted with the team and the squad. We play the first game, don't we? At Leicester, we get a 1-1 draw. We have all that percentage. You've got Son on the left. You've got Solanke in the middle, right? You've got Johnson on the right. Basuma's banned from the game for no laughing matter. So the next game, Solanke's injured. He changes it. Everton at home. Son plays through the middle. Right, you've got Odegaard on the left. You've got what's name on the right, Johnson on the right. I think, and then like I see link up play between. It was overrated because we won 5-0. The hype was, but there was good link up play between Maddison and Odegaard and all that. And at the back, and we look sound. We're doing everything okay to the opponent's penalty and down the wings. Then in the next game, when we're away to Newcastle, the same thing. The team's changed again. Sarr comes in. The front three are changed again. I mean, the team's been there's been changes to the team in like 4 or 5 games, apart from the Coventry game. And in each of those games, we still had all that possession. We didn't buckle. Our midfield weren't as pants as it was last season. Our forward line's been pants. I'll never defend the indefensible. I'll do a critique on that any day of the week. But like, we didn't. And I think he has. I mean, all right, if other people perceive what's going on different to me, that's fine. That's what it's all about. Opinions at the end of the day. It's all subjective.
The problem I'm having, Adrian,
I'm fully Ange-in. I'm fully Ange-in from what I've seen, and I've substantiated what I perceive to be right on that pitch. Now I've seen the wrongs at Leicester and all at Coventry and all that, and come out and did my critique on that as well.
Is it my go?
Go on in.
Right. Now. There was a game last season. The Wolves manager.
Yeah, Gary O'Neill. Yeah, I know.
In his post-match interview, he told the whole league how to play against Tottenham.
Every man knows how to play against Tottenham.
Well, of course they do, because
Gary play against every other team.
Well, hang on,
the same argument.
Bloody hell!
Go on.
Right, because the Wolves manager told him. He said, "This is what we done. We sat back, we soaked it up, ball down the side, get the ball in, go." Because it's all this inverted nonsense. Fullbacks playing as strikers, whatever they do, who knows? Who knows? To be honest, I mean, Ange is a lovely bloke, and when he come in, he was all like, said mate a lot, and he said the right things. But to be honest, I don't honestly. I mean, his style worked in Scotland, yes, because he had the best team. Celtic are by far the best team in Scotland because Rangers have dropped off. And it's going to work when you're playing in Scotland. It's not going to work in the Premier League. Ian was saying earlier, there's like our team is just it's like. It's just all jumbled together and nobody really knows what they're doing, I don't think.
It's subjective at the moment, Mark.
But
it's subjective. You can't.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
Do I want Ange sacked? No, because
we've been. He's not in a million
Hang on a minute. Because we've been through all this nonsense for ages now. Let's have a manager in for another year, then get rid of him, and then start again. Right? I just want him to adapt. Like you see, even Man City. Now, Man City are the best team in the league. Everyone here can agree that. Pep, in game, he'll tweak things. If he sees something, what does he actually tweak during the games to sort the problems out?
He doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't do anything.
There isn't no such thing as a plan B or a plan C. It doesn't exist. It's absolutely rubbish. Even Redknapp and that was saying back in he said, plan B, Harry, or something. Went, no, nothing like that. He said, all it is fresh legs. He said, you can't change things when you've got a game plan halfway through a game. You start the second half.
But Harry,
all right, lads, plan B. It's rubbish.
4-1-1
Sorry, Adrian, you're so wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
You are so wrong.
Go on in.
Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. Champions League semi-final last year.
Mm-hmm.
Tuchel and Ancelotti. It was a game of chess. They were, they were changing the systems, bringing players on, moving players around. It was absolutely brilliant to watch.
Yeah, from a 5 to a 4.
Two managers that were light years ahead of this manager.
Touch you in. He's available. Sorry,
it's dreadful. I'm sorry. The guy has one way of playing. It served him well up to Scotland. He's now in a proper league, and it doesn't work, and he doesn't know how to change it. That's the problem. He has no plan B. He's never had to have a plan B. He doesn't know what a plan B is.
Well,
and we're screwed because of it. We're absolutely screwed.
Well,
because everyone knows how to play against us. We're 13th now. If he doesn't change, we're going to be dropping.
I don't get
dropping even further, Adrian.
When everyone, yeah, of course they do. But we know how to play against everyone else. We know how Man City play. We know how Liverpool play. We know how we know how Arsenal play possession-based football. We know how these teams
play.
Okay, right?
They came to Spurs and they sat back.
What? Yes. But we knew they were. Yeah, but we knew that. Yes, fans were all talking about that before the game. We knew Arsenal were going to sit back in that game.
Yeah, but you said everyone knows Arsenal plays. They play attacking, and then
they do against the teams. They do against most teams.
Yeah, but Arteta that changes things, as we just saw in the derby.
Yeah,
he didn't change his system.
Of course he did.
We don't change, mate. Remember?
It's not.
He played a 4-4-2 with the two wingers in advanced positions, and he sat back, played a low block, said, "Come on," put his hand up, and said, "Right, we're going to hold you at arm's length," and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and it worked for them.
And it worked.
Yeah, so we need to do stuff like that.
The point we're making, Adrian, the point we're making is that, and he may do the same thing against Man City.
He will do.
But next week at home, he'll change the system. Ange doesn't change the system for anybody. It's the same week in, week out.
He picks a team to win a game.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't, Adrian. He plays a system to win the game.
Well, of course you've got to play a system.
The players are changing.
You have to have a game plan for each game and play a system.
He plays the same system. Whoever the opposition is, whether he's got, he plays a high line. He's got explosive pace from Matt Van der Ven. He's lost that explosive pace against Newcastle. He still plays the high line. He doesn't think to himself, duh. Now, Jurgensen's not as fast as Van der Ven. I think I might have to drop back 10 yards. No, he doesn't think like that. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to play a really high line. Doesn't matter that Jurgensen's X amount miles per hour slower than Van der Ven. I'm going to play the same way. There's no thought. There's no intelligence.
You got to remember. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but Ian, the counter to that is we played a high line under Poch and we had Alderweireld and Vertonghen, and they weren't the fastest defenders in the world.
We didn't play a high line like this under
Poch. We did. We were fast on the line. The whole principle of that.
No, the
whole principle of playing a high line is your wingers press their fullbacks, your fullbacks press their wingers, you press in midfield, your number one striker presses between.
Adrian, we also play with number 6 on
Let me finish. And then what happens is what you're trying to do is to force the opponent. The whole theory behind tactics and coaching on a high line is like you're trying to force the opposition to kick the ball long and panic and kick it. And this is why he wants to play out from the back, which can be nervy at times, right? We all know that. So when they kick the ball out, kick a long ball out, right? You should have more chance of winning that ball and repeating the process and pressing again. That's the basic theory behind pushing on a high line. It's the basic theory.
Can I just say one thing, Adrian? Can I just say one thing?
You play whatever you want, mate.
Right. Now, he played that stupid high line with Dragusin and Davis in the team. Davis, who's... I'd probably run quicker than Davis, let's be fair. And he still played the same stupid system.
Yeah, but I don't know. He moved pretty quick enough to get back and clear the ball, didn't he, Davis?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he is a bit quicker than me then. Only just.
I think we're going to disagree on that.
Yeah,
it's perceptions at the end of the day, and it what we're saying is just purely subjective. I like the guy. I am fully engine, and I'm not changing.
We didn't say we didn't like him, Adrian. I'm just saying I don't.
This is it. Yeah.
And I don't agree that he doesn't adapt and change. I've seen him change. I've seen him change.
To be honest, if our front line had not been as toothless in matches, and our midfield had actually put some effort in and got forwards and created, we wouldn't be sat here moaning about whether or not we're getting exposed at the back as much, because we'd have had the goals that would have got us the victories, that would have got us the draws instead of defeats. So, I mean, what we're missing is some bites up front, some chances created, and some goals put away. If we get these early goals, it's all well and good teams sitting back. Arsenal low block, Newcastle low block. That's well and good. Soak up the pressure, and yeah, that might be a way to deal with Spurs. But if you're actually then scoring whilst we're putting the pressure on them, they've got to then come out and play. If they're coming out and playing, it creates more space in behind for us to put them to the sword to get the match won. But I do agree. You need to be able to adapt. You cannot only have one way of playing, because you will get found out. People will stop you, and what should be wins will be draws. What should be draws will be losses, and you'll lose your job.
Yeah,
in all fairness, what should be wins? What should be wins lead to losses, i.e., the Newcastle game. You know, so it's not just draws that lead to losses.
From what I have with your argument, AJ, and this is nothing against you, Bobby, personally, is because you mentioned the front line. Now we're talking about a manager who signed Werner twice.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not counting Werner. Believe me, I'm not including him.
I'm not a fan of Werner.
Apparently, he's got all his players. So if it's not working now, it's never going to work.
Look, who hasn't been highly critical of Werner, right? And I was critical of Johnson before we even bought him. And I go and watch these players and videos. You know, I go and watch them. I watch the under 21 games and stuff like that. I go and watch some of these players, you know, and like I thought, Johnson, what's the fuss about? And then I'm thinking, well, hang about, you've got to trust the recruitment staff and Paratici involved. They've gone and looked at these players. They looked at the stats. They've done it with Johnson, right? And Johnson is an Ange player, and Werner is an Ange player. And the reason they're both Ange players is because they suit the system. And the reason they suit the system, whether you like the players or not, is because they're fast. They might be useless, but they're fast, right? And they hug the touchline, which is part of the system. That's why he's got them in, right? Now, I've still got hope that Johnson will have a higher ceiling. He may not have. I don't know, but I'm hope so. Because
I'm worried about Solanke, Adrian. And the reason I say this is because we signed him off of one good season in his career.
I can't really comment about Odegaard and Solanke because I've seen so much more of Gray as a young player, watching him on video clips before he came to this club. And I've seen much more of Bergvall. I've gone to see, once he caught my eye, I wanted to see everything I could about him. And I have seen, apart from the videos I basically looked at before Solanke come and I knew he was coming, and he was an Ange signing as well. And the reason he was an Ange signing, because for 65 million, you wouldn't have had to pay much more to get Eze, right? So he's definitely an Ange signing as well. So these players are on Ange's head if the season goes.
But that's what I'm saying. If we're not scoring goals, and these are the attackers he picked,
we will score goals.
And clearly this guy's talent idea isn't very good then, is it?
Well, I disagree with Solanke.
Let's get rid of.
I'm not saying Solanke's rubbish. I'm just saying he's still off of one. Right now, I'm still treating him as a one-season wonder.
Let's destroy another myth. Even for you guys in the chat, in case you don't know, right? Managers do not sign players. It's all done by a committee. No club in their right mind would give the manager the budget. Where even if it's a Mourinho or a Conte, doesn't happen that way, right? You've got a team there. Ange is part of that team with Johan Langer, with the head scout Rob McKenzie, with the first team coach Max Leggett, who we got of whatever, right? They are part of the team, right? Now you've got Scott Munn, who's been handed the till, basically, where Levy says, this is what you've got on the till, Scott Munn. You're the chief officer. You're not a director of football like people think he is. He's come from the City Group or whatever it was, right? His expertise is in like finance, like Levy's getting commercial deals for the club, but he will have the budget. The budget will be there without player sales. And then, why do you think Johan Langer decides? Johan Langer probably was very responsible for getting Bergvall in because he comes from his neck of the woods, doesn't he? But even it is together. These decisions are started.
Adrian, you just told me that Werner is his man, Johnson is his man, Solanke is his man.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. So
you can't then say, well, managers don't pick the players because you just named me 3 players that apparently he picked.
Yeah, but come on, Ange. Come on. You know better than that, right? You know better than that. The fact that he wants those players, when they go and draw our recruitment team, what do you think they were doing from the beginning of the last season? Sitting on their arse till it comes around the transfer window. They'll be compiling lists of players in every position. Now, they might have 5 or 6 in every position that they go through. Now, if you couldn't get Neto, Odegaard was probably second on the list.
He didn't want
Right? He
Neto.
was.
He didn't want Neto.
He wanted
Or he didn't want Neto.
He didn't want
And they
Neto.
probably offered
He
it
didn't
just,
want him.
and they probably thought, we'll do something derisory in case Wolves buy it. We'll offer them Skip and a few quid. And then if they say yes, yeah, we'll take him. If not, we don't really want him anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, it might have been one of those. But
His number one choice last year was Johnson, and his number one choice this year is Gallagher.
His first
Gallagher,
choice last season was
First choice.
Gallagher. Gallagher was always the first player he wanted in his club. And the second and third players he wanted.
Adrian, Ange makes the final decision on players. That's it, period. No argument. That's the situation.
On the list. Ange can't
But
pick
look,
players
I
that
remember
aren't
when
available.
Poch was there.
If a player don't want to come to this club, they can have a list and say, I want that player. But if that player don't want to come, or that player's got Champions League football, or his club won't release him, that player ain't coming. No matter how
But at the same time, Poch was here.
I'm not
for 7
talking
years.
about whether a player comes or not. I'm talking about a player with the Spurs go for that player. They only go for the player if Ange signs it off. That's it. Finished.
You can always say no.
And
Poch
All
said
the
no, he doesn't
scouts bring their reports in,
Well, look at the
bring their
difference.
videos
Look
in,
at
they
the
sit
difference.
down, they have a chat, it's
Yeah.
put to Ange, and Ange says yes or no. And I believe he has the final say.
He'll have a list of players he wants. They'll go and they say, we can't get him, we can get him. Do you want so-and-so? And Ange will say, yeah. And Ange would have wanted.
Quincy Johnson.
Interesting that, and I'm glad we only got Werner on loan, but it's interesting that we got him on loan, right? That is an interesting fact in
What's the
itself.
point?
Why?
What
What's the point? Having another year.
What was the point of bringing Werner back? He didn't earn it with his performances last year. What was the point?
I just think that Ange thinks, right, if we get him on loan, then we'll see if he raises his level. If he don't, Ben, he hasn't, is he? I mean, I'm not a fan of him. I'm not sticking up for Werner, right? So we will see, won't we? But, Ange will have a say. He's got a say on players, but who we get in,
My point is, Adrian, is that Poch for 18 months didn't sign a player, right? And I know for like facts, he said no to some players, like Tielemans, I think was one I know of, and a few others, right? They did offer him some players, and he said no to a lot of them. So as a manager, you can say no to players. You don't have to. I know the club can say no to players. Like back in Redknapp's day, he wanted like Neville, I can't remember which one, Phil Neville or something, and the club didn't want to do it, for example. But managers can say no to players. You didn't have to sit there and say,
Oh, Adrian, slow down.
Yes.
Slow down with the comments. Can't read them.
Like managers can say no to players, Adrian. It's just to me, it seems like Andrew went like yes. I don't know him, but yes. Oh, but okay, he sounds nice. Yes, that's what it comes across as to me.
Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on the processes in the background, then, yeah. But
we know that he wanted. I mean, I don't know what.
And after Gallagher, he wanted a number 9 more than anything else, because even all the reports when things don't leak out that club know through Langer, which I'm pleased about, but we want a number 9 and we want a wide player. So they got 2 in. Now, whether Odegaard is the goods, similar stats to Nico Williams, but injured now, I don't know. I'm undecided on him, and I certainly won't judge him after 3 or 4 games like half the fan base do. I'm used to judging player in a second season. That's the way I was brought up on football. So we brought in the wide player and the striker, right? I still think we need a left back, a right back, a left centre back, right? And but it's a fair way to go to January, and we'll see.
I believe that he did want Solanke. Because as we saw last season, he presses, which is part of the Ange way, allegedly. The thing is with Solanke at the moment, we're not even creating anything for him. Or he's had a few half chances. And possibly the one against Arsenal where he got the ball stuck below his feet. I mean, if that was Kane, that would have been... Well,
I agree. He should have done better.
Well, to be honest, if that was Kane, he wouldn't have even stopped it. It would have just been first touch, bang, in one of the corners.
He needs to be getting a shot away in that position.
Yeah, well,
at least.
But that was probably his best chance. And that was probably only, a half chance? Because
exactly.
to be honest, whoever it was, the Arsenal defender, Saliba or the other one, closed him down real quick. He was a second or two, wasn't it? But really, if he'd hit that first time, it would have at least, I'd like to think it would have been at least on target. So I believe Ange wanted Solanke. Like the rest of
I think he's a good striker. I think he'll come good. Look at what look at how he's performed in the matches he's played. What other striker in world football have you seen boss the lever the way that Solanke did against Leicester? He was in the right places, making the right runs, dragging the defenders out, creating space. He was getting hold of the ball, linking up. It just didn't fall for him. And then he was out. He was out for a month, I do believe, with an injury. Come straight back in against Arsenal, put in a decent performance against Coventry. Nobody created anything of note. He didn't get a chance, and then he got hooked.
we had no shot on goal. We had no shot on goal.
But there are some people going, Solanke's no good after he's played 2.5 games. No, he's no good. We know he's a flop. How do you know he's a flop? The lad scores all manner of goals. He's quick. He's high pressing. He's strong. He's tall. He's powerful. He's great in the air. He's good on the ground. His link-up play is great. Like, what? Why not give him half the season to the full season to see where he is at the end? Harry Kane, I do believe, never scored in August. Well, he did eventually, but there was you don't score in August. You don't score in August, and he was still consistently up there in the goal-scoring charts. Yes, Solanke is no Harry Kane. He isn't. Nobody is. But let's wait and see at the end of the season whether or not we were right about Solanke being crap and not good enough. Let's just wait and see. Not base it off of 2.5 games.
Well, I've not seen anyone really criticize. I don't.
There have been some.
Oh, is there? I don't use Twitter and that. Well, I think I've
don't
got.
Get me, don't get me wrong. He's not
Twitter.
Yeah, he's not been getting like absolutely lambasted, but at the end of the day, he's still been. Has isn't particularly a fan of him. As from what I gather, unless I'm wrong. But the man.
What I said was, in his career, he's only had one season where he's hit like big goals, which was last season. So for me, at the moment, I have to just treat him as he's had one good season, and we'll see what he does at Tottenham. If this season he doesn't hit the same sort of numbers, then I'd be quite worried, to be honest.
Do you not think that he must be looking at the service he's getting at our club?
What service?
Thank you. And thinking,
yeah. No, I see what Jesus.
He must be thinking, when I compare the service here to what I got at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So are you saying Bournemouth have better wingers than us then?
Obviously.
Yeah.
Or they play a correct system.
Listen, we're the only team that played this stupid kamikaze brainless system.
You would think we would create more chances for him because we play so attacking. You would think, in theory, but it doesn't seem to be happening.
No, definitely not.
So, Solanke as a player, I don't mind him as a player. He's got attributes I like. Like, he's got pace and he's got a bit of strength and that. And on paper, he should be really good. But I'm just saying, if you look at his previous goal tallies,
but if he
we're taking a gamble on him.
If we bought a player who had a great season 3 years ago and did nothing since, or bought a player who has been improved, he got a great manager in at Bournemouth last year, who obviously has taken him up several notches, and is now bringing out the best of him. You would want to have that player who's coming into your club on a great run of form, rather than someone who did it 3 years ago and hasn't done it since.
I see what you're saying, but at the same time, he played for Chelsea and Liverpool didn't get into the team.
He didn't get a proper run out. He didn't get a proper run. I mean, was he at Chelsea when Diego Costa was there? I'm not sure. But Solanke didn't.
I know Klopp gave him chances, because I remember even watching him back when he was at Liverpool, and he didn't seem to do much with it. So I'm not saying he's I'm not saying he's rubbish. I'm not saying he's amazing. He's decent, but if you want to really challenge, I don't think he's the kind of striker that's going to.
Well, he definitely suits the profile that Ange wanted.
Definitely.
Because
my dream would be.
He definitely suits the profile we wanted, because we could have got Tony, Jimenez, Jonathan David in for half the price, and we could have probably put a few quid and got Eze. So he's definitely a player that was wanted and fits the profile, and he does from what I've seen, because he does graft and he can.
And the thing, and the thing that I wanted to say was, you got to look at the likes of Ian Wright. That I know he played for that lot, but like he didn't come good till he was like what, mid-20s at least.
Jamie Vardy.
Well, exactly. Jamie Vardy was playing non-league football, and he come to the fore in his late 20s, wasn't it? And Ian Wright only come good in his late 20s, or certainly mid-20s. You know, so I mean, people do develop at like different times. You know, I mean, to be honest, I mean, to be honest, you cannot judge Solanke at the moment when he has literally been provided with zero. You know, I mean, we're not creating anything for him. You know, if we were well, we are all over teams. We just do nothing with it. But if he was missing 10 chances a game, then yeah, he should be scoring like 5 or 6 of them.
But you know, Mark, let's wait. It's very early in the season.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Any form of judgment on any player.
No. Yeah. Especially when the service he's receiving is literally zero. He gets maybe a half chance or 2 a game. You know, against Leicester, he had what? There was that little header thing.
He had 2 headers and he had a shot against Leicester. He could have opened.
By the way, just so you guys know, I did want him over Tony, so I'm not, like I said, I don't hate him. I'm just saying there's just levels to strikers. You know. I mean, Isaac's miles better than him.
Tony was absolutely the wrong choice for us. The wrong sort of character, the wrong sort of mentality. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we stayed away from him. Absolutely glad we stayed away.
And in all fairness, let's face it, right? Anyone who comes in after Harry Kane is going to be
I know drop off.
It's going to be a massive drop off because let's face it, Harry Kane's like generational.
In the world,
well, they are generational. You know, I mean, the next Harry Kane will probably come about in 5-10 years.
What was so disappointing was, I'm not saying they would have got these players through the door, but there should have been a succession in place for Kane. And if you're getting 86 million, you just say, right, there's 86, let's stick another 20 or 30 and let's go and get, for argument's sake, I'm not saying he's the perfect player, get someone like Osimhen. For me personally, I would have gone with 100 million to Newcastle and 71. I'm not saying these guys would join, but there was no ambition at the club.
We don't give it a go, Ian. We don't even try. That's what
we don't even try because they're not interested.
I wanted Vlahovic. That's what I wanted.
And let's face it as well. If we'd have built a team around Harry Kane, he wouldn't have left. You know, instead of signing instead of signing God knows who, and Harry's probably looking, who the hell are you? You know, if we'd have bought quality players in that would have bolstered the team and maybe led to something. Because let's face it, he only left because we don't win nothing. Mm-hmm. You know, if we'd built the team when Harry was in his prime, well, he still is in his prime. But like, if we'd have got the team in around him, then he wouldn't have left.
Let's move on because I want to discuss Brentford, guys. Right, been good, passionate at times debate, which is good. It's been clean, which is good. Right, we know that Wednesday we got the draw for the Carabao Cup. If we draw Man City away, he's not playing 8 reserves, is he? So we know that's happening. So we'll see what we'll have.
No, he'll play 9 strikers.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Right. Do we have 9 strikers?
We'll move on to Brentford, and I'll get your team selections for Brentford. Who do you think is going to play right now? So, Brentford. Now, 48 previous meetings. Spurs have won 25, drawn 16, and lost 7. Under Ange, we've played Brentford twice. The 2-2 on August the 13th, 2023. We'll remember when the Caro was a bit shaky and Romero went off, didn't he, with the concussion? And then they come to our stadium. they were winning, I think, as I recall, on January 31st, and we beat them 3-2. Brentford sit 9th in the table with 2 wins from 4 games, right? Their 2 losses were away to Man City 2-1 and away to Liverpool 2-0. No
And
shame.
they bossed Man City.
Yeah, they played really well.
Yeah, let me finish, guys. I'm reading this
Oh,
out.
sorry.
All right, good. Right. Their home wins were against Southampton 3-1 and more recently against Crystal Palace 2-2. Right? 2-1, sorry. Right? So we are probably down to 20 players now only with injuries, although I don't want to spoil everyone's weekend by letting you know that Werner is fit. He's been declared fit. But, yeah, so we're down to Vicario, Forster, Davis. Well, let's do the injured list first. We've got Lancashire's hamstring, Richarlison muscle unspecified, Odegaard hamstring. Bassoon is expected to fit. He's recovered from a groin. And Werner's injury wasn't as bad as he thought. He probably wanted to come off. I'm glad he did. Right.
You're only missing 2, Adrian. That's all.
Sorry?
You're only missing 2. That's all now.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you include Lancashire, it's 3. So, and we were 2 down anyway because we didn't have 4 academy trained players. So we only got a squad of 23 anyway.
That's for Europe, not for the Premier League.
And you can promote from the B list, right?
And you've got Reggie on as well.
And you got Regulon as well. Yeah. So, guys, come on in, Haz. Back 5 for Brentford.
I mean, that picks itself, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's pointless
Informed
asking.
the uninformed. Go on then. Name them.
Vicario, Udogie, Porro, Van de Ven and Romero.
Yeah, they'll all be fresh, so no excuses. Right. And we're all going with that, are we? Okay, you might as well stay. Now do your midfield 3 because we have options.
We do have a lot of options. Is Basuma back, by the way? Do you know?
Yes, apparently he's fit enough to play. Whether he will play him or not, who knows?
I'm going something different. Bentancur, Basuma and Kulusevski. That would be my 3.
No Maddison.
Yeah.
Okay. AJ, midfield 3.
I just want to quickly say that had Van de Ven played alongside Dragusin, I think Dragusin would have been better against Coventry and wouldn't have been caught out of position. And on that basis, I'd have had him in this team and kept Cootie on the bench because I think he needs a spell on the bench. But as I agree with the rest of you lot, I think the back 5 picks itself. But the midfield, I'd have Basuma because with the exception of that last steal off the midfielder and the ball through to Johnson, Bentancur did absolutely nothing in that match. So I say Basuma, Kulu, and Maddison.
Ian, your midfield 3.
I think I probably agree with AJ. I think Basuma is crucial to the way we play.
Yeah.
I think he was so instrumental in the first few games last season. That I just think you can't compare him to a Rodri or a Polini or a Rice, but he's I don't know. You got to play him there. You got to play Basuma. Kulu, I think, plays well. Can't play him on the wing. He's just not suitable. He slows everything down when he's on the wing as well. And Maddison, he doesn't take risks. This manager with his team selection does with his style of play, but it's complete Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to team selection. Personally, no, I think that's right. I think Basuma, Kulu, and Maddison would be my 3.
Mark, your midfield 3.
I'd go with that as well because let's face it, not that he plays with one, obviously, because he's stupid, but Biss is about the only one who's in number 6, isn't he? To be honest, really, because Bentancur's more of an 8, and so you got to play Biss. Yeah. Madison's been off it now he did well against Coventry, but that's neither here nor there. It's Coventry at the end of the day that we should have, really beaten easily, but I know we didn't. So, yeah, the 3.
Yeah, I'd go with those 3 as well. I mean, let's be fair, we've got options on the bench if he feels the need to change things now. There's plenty, you can shuffle that midfield 3. It's like we're not looking weak in midfield or at the back really. It's just that we're pants up front. Hez, give me your front three. Come on.
Okay, can I move them around? Because I want to play Madison in the 10 behind Son and Solanke. Am I allowed to do that?
You can do what you want.
Okay, all right. I'll put Madison in the 10 behind Son and Solanke then.
That is not happening. He's
No.
not doing it that way.
No.
You can't take the wingers out.
Realistically, we all know what the front three is going to be anyway. It's going to be Son, Solanke, and Johnson. So, yeah.
That's right.
Right. AJ, your front three?
Solanke up top, obviously. I think if we had any other option other than Werner, if we had anyone other than Werner, I'd risk Son because he's not been good enough. He hasn't had enough of an impact as a player or as a leader. So we don't know. We only have Werner, and I'd rather pickle my own bollocks than put him on the pitch. Johnson would have to start on the right because I don't think you can start more. I would. If you're going to start Johnson, I'd bring Moore on later. If you're going to start Moore, I'd bring Johnson off for him. Johnson's an impact player, but we're short on our options at the moment. So that would be my front three: Son, Solanke, and Johnson.
Ian, your front three?
Yeah, they're the only three.
Yeah.
They're the only three we've got.
And me as
Rich
well.
is injured, and Werner's so awful. You just can't even consider him. What I'd like to see is, in any of these games coming up, next few games, maybe Carabao. I'd like to see us maybe a couple of goals up, 20 minutes, bring Mikey Moore on.
Yeah, I would as well.
That's the time, with experienced players around him, a couple of goals to the good, team comfortable, playing with a bit of confidence, bring him on, introduce him gradually like that. My first thoughts initially when they brought Werner back was it's a short-term loan while they bring Mikey Moore through. But Werner has just regressed, hasn't he?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of Moore. He is
the only kid I think we've got who they talk about generational kids. He could be fantastic.
I think Divine's gone under the radar because he lost a year of his development by not being played at Plymouth, right? Whereas Phillips was being played there, so which I thought was a criminal actually. That's the whole point with these deals now. There should be some incentive to the loan club to play these players.
And with Phillips, Phillips is at Stoke, and Stoke have just got rid of their manager, so who knows whether he's going to get game time now.
Exactly. Well, they've got to have callback clauses for these loans in January then or whatever. We loan them to January. If we're not happy you've played them for X amount of time, they're coming back to us, right? And then you look for a loan again or possibly even add them to the squad. Mikey Moore's stats are mental stats he's got.
You see, for me, I would have had, if he'd have been at the club, I'd have played Phillips next to Dragerson on Wednesday. For me, that would have been more forward thinking. Let's see what these kids can do.
I did look at the squad.
I just wouldn't have made all the changes, though.
The under-21s were 1-0 down at half-time. They lost 3-1 against Valencia during the week. But I was keeping an eye on Alfie Dorrington because he's back now and he's fit and playing. And he can pass the ball to centre-back. He is a ball centre-back. And he's a lump. Phillips is 6'4". He's younger than Dorrington. Dorrington's older than Phillips because Phillips is younger. That's why I think they sent him out rather than Dorrington. I think he's got more chance of breaking into Angie's squad quicker because I think Dorrington's 21. Yeah, I think he might be 21 now or something. Or maybe 20. I'm not sure. I'd have to check it again. Well, guys, it's been a good show. It has been a good show, actually. I've been pleased with the way it's gone.
My front three is the same, by the way.
I'm sorry, Mark.
No. I have my go yet, but it's going to be another case of hammering those square pegs into the round holes.
What I'd like to see though, if he's going to play a three like that, maybe play more on the left and Porro on the right, and put Spence at right back.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Well, Ange has been noticed. Look, some of his selections for home games and away games. Who would have thought that Brennan Johnson would have got his debut away to Arsenal in the 2-2 game that we should have won. Because I don't think many when he picked that call, and that was his debut. His full debut was away to Arsenal. So it shows you how much belief he's got in the player. You know, even though we're all scratching our heads and thinking, you know, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. But I can't see it. Not because. And besides that, he's under pressure. He's still under. Well, you're under pressure for every game in the Premier League anyway, really. But he's under pressure, so he'll go with a tried and trusted 11. That'll be the 11, I think.
Yeah,
you know, he's got options to change things on the hour mark. You know, so I think he'll go with that. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or are we done here?
we're done.
Well, yeah.
Done.
Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe and all that. And as always, no, that's copyright. I'm not allowed to say that.
No, we're all right on copyright. Someone tried to do us for dreams.
No.
YouTube said we're fine with it, which I know we would be.
I'm not on about YouTube. I was on about Mr. Daigle suing me if I was
we know
all that nonsense.
Oh, right, okay. All right. Well, I want to thank my guests. You know you are. I'm not going to name you individually.
Predictions for tomorrow, Adrian?
Oh, yeah, we ain't done that.
You're going to hate my score. I'm saying 1-1.
That's a good shout, Has. I actually think we'll nick it 2-1.
Yeah, well, I won't tell you what I put in L-Tail's the online prediction things, because I put 2-1 to them.
Okay.
This was straight after the Coventry game, though, so I was that's why I ain't got come on you Spurs behind me tonight.
Give
I
us
got
your
Lara
predictions in the chat. In the chat, give us your predictions here as well. I'm going for 2-1. I've had £5 bets. I'm not a gambler, but I've had 5 silly pound.
Do you do
bets.
accumulators, Adrian? Or?
No. I've done 2-1 Decky to score first, 2-1 Son to score first, 2-1 for Solanke to score first. Then I think I've had a basic 2-1 because it covers those £3 bets. If it comes up anyway, 4-1 or something. And
before you wrap up, do you want to go through everyone's predictions in the?
Yes. You want to go for them, Mark? You can go for them if you want.
Well, yeah. If you bring them up.
Let's go down. Give us your scores, guys. Mapping Prese, right? Seen this first one up here.
Hang on. No.
Well, mapping.
The first one I can see is the Alex Scott experience. Yeah.
Well, this one must be a bit early. Mapping Prese has gone for Spurs 1, Brentford 4.
Oh my god.
Oh, I never saw that one.
No, I didn't want to see it either, to be honest with you.
Well,
Alex Scott, go on, 2-1. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, Alex. Oh, I thought you were going to bring him up, but Alex Scott 2-1, Simply Ace 3-0.
Oh, I don't know if I could watch that.
Well, yeah, mapping 2-1 to them. That's what I put in L-Tail's online prediction thing. Eugene 1-0, Destiny 3-1 Spurs, Jordan 1-0. I take it that's the Spurs. Phil Coy's 3-1 Spurs, Johnson ×2 Solanke. He's even named the goal scorers. Tommy G 1-0. Daniel...
JK27 2-0 to Brentford, by the way. It's just not written in that format.
Who?
JK27.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's me, see. Yeah, 2-0 Brentford. I'm sorry, I do apologise. Right, where are we? Did I say Daniels? Daniel Field, 2-0 to us. Jacob, United Spurs of America, big up, sir. 2-1 to Spurs. Times Cry, 5.5. Oh, I see.
What that even means.
Just a Harmless Potato, 2-0. Hotspur Hood, 2-0. Yeah, there's a and 2-0. Meta Football's just come in at the end. Chris, 2-0.
Yeah. Well, for the superstitious among you, in 48 previous meetings, Brentford have only won 7.
Oh no! Don't say that now.
They're due a result then, Adrian, aren't they?
Sorry?
And so it'll be 8.
They're due a win. Yeah, you can look at it that way if you're that way.
Yeah. And so it'll be 8 after tomorrow.
I think it'd be a nervy 2-1. I mean, but you never know. I'm hoping that we click with all this possession. We move the ball quickly. We put crosses into the box. We've just got to do things quicker. Like the 2 goals we got against Coventry. we weren't slow and faffing about with them. Bentancur won his tackle, put the ball through, and it was a good move, a very good move for the Spence goal.
Yeah, and Eugene right at the end. Don't see us scoring 2 goals, unfortunately. Well, yeah, it depends how much.
Sit back, they'll play low block, 100%.
Yeah. I was going to say it depends how much.
We scored 4 in 4, so
yeah, and when
it's
and
not
like
great. It's not great.
If you're the sort of type that are a bit masochistic and don't want to take pity on the opposition, Joe Vista's not playing for them. He's got an ankle injury and he's scored goals for them recently.
Sorry, we scored 6 in 4. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Buemo's going to play though, so.
Well, look, when we play Man City and be like, yeah, but they got a bench. And I was like, you only put 11 of them field at a time. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about that. When we're at home, I expect us to win every home.
I'm very worried because if we beat Coventry convincingly, maybe I would come into this game a lot more confident.
Yeah, and me.
But we literally we shouldn't really have won that game. We should really have lost that game, and we won just about in the last 5 minutes. But this is why
we got through 2 rounds of the cup because we got a bye out first round. So we've got through 2 rounds. We're going to win it. You got to be in it to win it.
Quite nervy, I can tell.
Right. I want to thank everyone, all of you in the chat, especially for coming. And we are a fledgling group, and it does help if you please go and subscribe to our channel. If you post a comment, even better, because that helps the algorithms and that helps us grow even more.
And the likes do as well, Adrian.
And thumbs up are always welcome if you like the channel. We do get quite a good views. We could do with some more comments, though. I mean, like, that's what we could do with on our videos, even if you say they're crap. You know what I mean? Like, it still helps as a comment. Like, right, I'm going to meet you guys in the back room, and I'm going to play us all out with this.
Don't